All right, so here's the thing, right? For anyone who's watching right now, it's a little tilted. It's fine. It's a lot of tech issue, so I'm trying to figure that out right now, and so you'll just get to see as I fix everything live. At least I have the streaming working, so there's that. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and then say hi to my dad. 啊？Yeah， 我是在说，因为我就是把这个在修。So as you can see, the set is in a little bit of disarray. Yeah， 我就说因为现在已经慢已经 So yeah. So hi, I'm delayed a little bit. My dad is over here, and then we're just going to be trying to get everything set up as we go. So you guys get to see the setup process as well, and we'll see how that works. Why isn't that charging? What the? Yeah, I'm live. Hopefully this is, it's gonna say, okay, this just charges it. Cool, yeah, that just charges it, nice. All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and, I need to make a post too. So you'll get to see me take a selfie and stuff. I don't know if I should wear the hat. Should I wear the hat, guys? I need to get everything ready. I figured I'm already late trying to get, I figure I'm already a little late trying to get this up. I still have to set lights and clean and put some of those stuff up. So I guess you guys just hear me yap while I do that, which is fine because like I actually want to talk about set design and kind of how all that went anyway. So what we're going to be doing here, I will take a selfie actually to go. I am live on set. How do I do this? There we go. And I also need to go plug that in. So I don't know, where's my hand? There, hang on. So yeah, I've noticed that my engagement rates are way up if I make weird faces, so that's what I'm doing. I might wear the hat. I think I'll just wear the hat. It'll be, more thematic. I can't actually read chat right now. I'm still trying to get all that set up, so I'm gonna be posting real quick. Yeah, I think my dad was, Okay, 你们再走. Okay, bye. Yeah. 好. No, 你来, come say hi. 来一下. This is my grandma. Say hi. All right, they're going to be heading out. They're here to pick up some ramen and stuff. Okay, bye. Wear the hat? Okay. Where'd I put the hat? Where did I put the hat? 帽子你看到? It's somewhere around here. I know I grabbed it. Oh, my grandma sat on it. It's fine. See, the nice thing is, I put on the hat. I don't have to worry about like bringing out my hair. I guess it also helps because then the, oh my God. The thing is, hopefully this doesn't make my face too dark, because it does obviously cast a shadow. I'm like, I'm not surprised, honestly. It took me a little. It took me a little bit longer. I have a 300-foot Ethernet cable right now, running all the way out. That's how I managed to get this stuff done. I wonder if I should. Yeah, there's actually no point in me. I don't know why I have it turned that way when I should just turn it this way. Is there something stuck? Oh, the power. The light is a little dim right now. That's one of the things I'm going to adjust. Actually, I wonder if I can just put this onto the. I'll just adjust. It's adjustable, adjustable apron. You know, makes it real easy. Nice. There we go. Aha. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I had the laptop turned around, so like every time I tried to mess with the laptop, it would just be, oh yeah, no, I can't see anything anymore. But you know, now we can actually see stuff. Is the audio okay still? Like I put this on my chest over here, so I don't know if audio is too quiet, if I should boost it. Yeah, I should probably boost it a little bit. Looks a little quiet right now. I think I can boost it directly from the. There's so many wires and things that are needed to get something like this up. You know what? I'm gonna take a new picture. The knife always gets people's attention, so I'm gonna take a new picture with the hat and the knife. Dude, tech man, you test everything and then it like doesn't work, you know? It is showing a little low on the okay. How do I do this again? Remember I need to, that's mute, I think. All right, let me see. Oh, okay. I remember there's a way to increase the decibels, because it's at -9 right now. Can you tell I haven't used these very much? It's fine, I'll boost it on, I'll just have to remember to unboost it later. So this KFP set, as you can see, is one of the things that we didn't show is that like literally where this my 5 about okay. All right, so all right, cool. So that seems to put me in a pretty good range. So even when I'm shouting and okay, and there's a limiter. Is it clipping at all, guys? If I go does it clip? Does it clip? So I'll go and talk about. Okay, cool. Yeah, I figured doing like a 5 decibel and then doing compression would help. So this set, obviously, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I need to like, You have to like do a squat. I don't think that captured. That's probably fine. Hi everyone. I think I'll just put a quick like text on screen just to just give a little bit of context to everyone that's showing up. Cool. Massive text. You know how it goes, right? Like this is normal stuff. So let's set that over there. Now I have context for everyone coming in. Yeah, I'll go and post this. And yeah. Oh, man. But I currently getting stuff set up and fixing some final stuff, but I'll talk about the set meanwhile. Cool. Copy, so I can put it onto other places, post. Neat. Okay, cool. So yeah, for everyone who is here, hi. Hi, I'm Tim. I'm the founder and CEO of Vite. I don't actually have this, like, I have this recording on, what do you call it right now, but I definitely need to start recording on that thing. I'm actually using a capture card, so the quality is significantly higher than a native stream. So we're actually able to see this in 4K resolution without it actually being 4K. Like, if you can tell, the like resolution and clarity is better than usual. If I can finally figure out that capture cards are a thing. I know, that's old news for a lot of people, but for me, I'm getting used to it, you know? Fine, don't worry about it. Doo-doo-doo. And we're just gonna end up having a lot of car noises in the background. That's actually one of the funniest things about filming on this set is that there's just gonna be a lot of cars and other stuff that happens. That's just how it goes. What? No, I don't. No, I don't want you to do that. No, I need this window to. So meanwhile, I will talk about set. I will be able to see chat. I'm trying to get this whole chat thing set up. Oh, cool. That should work. I don't want to see this gift of subscription shit. What the fuck? Whatever. Okay, so if chat goes fast, I won't be able to see it, but I will be able to check it occasionally. I'll also have it up on my phone. So, cool. So, hi. This is the KFP set. This, hopefully it's focused. I can't see that far. I'm just gonna use the regular recording for this, and then with the capture card, one of the nice things is I can actually record in 4K as I do this, which previously I was like, oh, do I need another phone or something like that? No, absolutely not. So that's kind of nice. The pop-out chat or something like that. So, hi. Hopefully I have the framing right. Let's see. Neat. Cool. Now chat up. Okay. Looks like I can zoom in a little bit more. Let's kind of do that. Let's kind of do that for now. So, interesting thing is that this set was not originally built. This set wasn't actually originally designed to be like this. Everything about the set was kind of like built for specifically that. Originally, when we built this set, it was kind of like. I kind of want to off-angle this so I can actually see over there. But originally, this set was kind of built for like without these walls. Ah! Oh, dude, my neck is so messed up right now. I want you guys to be able to see the fryers and stuff. Still can't see it. See, this is why it's always hard doing this by yourself, and why having camera people is so much easier. Right? So that'll be my frame. There's a little bit of drift. Huh? Yeah? Yeah? Cool. Nice. That'll be my frame. So this set is actually pretty interesting. You'll see we have the fire extinguishers and that kind of stuff from when we were, well, playing with fire a little bit. The funny thing about the playing with fire is that it actually was safer than we had imagined. In fact, it was so safe that we actually started to have trouble keeping things alight and otherwise be able to like, do things. Because we wanted to set the knife on fire, but safely, and it was actually a lot harder than we thought. We used a low ignition. We used the low ignition mineral oil, which meant that we used the low ignition mineral oil, which basically just meant that it was. And what I'm going to do literally is just throw everything on the ground for now. See if it's underneath. You can't see it, right? That's the trick. Also, I can just move everything out of sight. Where's the frame cutoff? Have you ever considered doing a game show? Clearly, you have the capabilities to make a set for one, I'd say. Yeah, that is something we have thought about. Like, one of the things I do want to mention is that like this is actually the very first time we ever did something like this. This is our first set build ever. Pretty cool, right? So this is definitely one of those things that is not. It's only after this KFP set that we are really thinking about what else can we do with this. We have some really cool stuff coming up. Can't wait to show you guys. And it's going to be really, ow. It's going to be something that is extremely, all these things that we're doing and we're learning is going to make our ability to do things significantly higher. Obviously, this is just really expensive to do because, a set is expensive, right? It's not even the materials. Like, honestly, these are foam boards. These are foam boards, insulation foam boards that have been painted. And they look like walls because, you use the right paint and wallpapers and other stuff, and it works really well. These are actually these that are falling off right now that I'm going to put on again, just so it looks a little bit better. I'm also going to set up lighting again, but yeah, I'm working. I mean, like, unironically, I'm working, right? So these are really cool because they're stick-on, right? And actually, we want to be able to reuse the walls and things like that, and we don't want to like tear stuff off. So we actually just use the corners, which is why they're falling off, and I need to stick them back on right now. But these are actually textured foam. So you can actually see that there is a significant amount of the bumping and texturing. And what that means is that when we actually use light and we reflect light onto it, it does look like real stone because of the reflections and the actual texturing and surface. So there's occlusion, there's scattering, all that sort of stuff. And so it just looks like real stone. And so it makes the set look a lot higher quality and a lot more real than it otherwise would be. How much of the set will be able to be recycled? That's a good question. We are like my ideal is we're going to need to take this down. This is actually part of our storage section of the warehouse, right? You can see, well, no, you can't see anymore because I adjust the camera. But a bunch of the stuff is, you can see, or I mean, you will be able to see, a lot of the stuff up here is, cardboard boxes, old machinery, things like that. And all that kind of stuff is, all that stuff is, what do you call it? We use the space. This does mean that as much as I would love to keep a KFP set up all the time, it just ends up not being feasible. Simply because, then we'll just have problems with, here's a cool thing I can do. So the balance point is right there, so, so we do need to use the space, which means we do need to take down. That being said, because these are foam walls, we can actually just, they're basically just taped together from the back. I wonder if I can show you guys. With how the setup is, it might be a little difficult. You know what, I'm not gonna, well, let's see. Hey, Astral, thanks for the raid. I'm going to show you guys behind the set right now and hope I don't break anything, which is we'll see. Wow, that's a lot of wires and stuff. Woo. Okay, so you can see over there, I can't really show too much. I realize that I need to be able to move this a little too much in order to truly show you guys behind set. Let me see if I can just angle over here. So you can see we have just triangle frames that just been glued together with industrial glue in order to keep everything together. And oh my God. And in the back is just, and maybe I'll do a little bit of breakdown tonight. We'll see. Oh, geez. Ah! And then there's actually our old microwave dehydrator unit too, the very old one. Yeah. I can't put this in. Why is it not going in? What? What? Okay, let me unplug this first. Yeah? Is that not slotted in? I'm so confused. Does it need to go this way? Oh, okay, cool. Got it, figured it out, sort of, I think. Now we're a little tilted. So yeah, here, you can see, this is where those bars are where a lot of the bigger lights were hung. I don't have those bigger lights because I don't have the lights, the videographers do. That is some of our old machinery, some old boxes and packaging, some pallets, right? Another crated up old machine over there. We keep them around for parts primarily, so that we can always just we can kind of grab something, and you can see there was another light that was set up and stood over there. I'm actually gonna grab that stand and use it. I'll be using this camera to focus on what I'm doing, so that you guys will actually be able to see everything that's going on. Chat, I was not able to look meanwhile, so I'll have to double check on what y'all were saying. I just saw the raid as I did things, but hi raiders. Hello, I'm Tim. I'm the CEO and founder of Vite Ramen and Vite Kitchens, Vite LLC technically. And we are on the KFP set, and I'm going to be talking about how the KFP X Vite Ramen stuff was filmed. I will be fixing up the set, which has been starting to fall apart because the set was never meant to be permanent. And then I will be yapping about the design of this knife, which I will come and show you guys a little bit closer. This is the Kikrakiri knife. Hopefully it's focusing. Yeah, can I get this is the Kikrakiri, and it is a custom design knife and built specifically from the ground up. Man, it is not focusing, is it? I need to like hide my face or something. Eh? No? No? Eh? I don't know. It's my hand. Okay, you know what? I'm just not gonna bother right now. Is there a manual focus? No, it's automatic, right? Yeah, it's AF. Okay, well, whatever. What if I do this? It is so hard to figure out autofocus with these things sometimes. Oh, come on. Focus on the knife, damn it. Okay, I'm gonna manually do this. This is annoying me. So let's swap the manual focus real quick. Wait, is it on manual focus? It was on manual focus. Oh, okay. Boom, look at that. I don't really have the lights on right now, so, ooh, shiny. Yeah, so you can see the copper Damascus. This is a copper Damascus with VG10. And yeah, custom designed pattern. I will talk more about it and the design of this later on after I get the setup, so. Yeah, cool, now the autofocus is working. I don't know why, it was actually set on, it said autofocus, but it was actually manual focus when I actually checked the screen. So that was kind of weird, but we roll with it. I wish I had to buy the funds to buy all of them. Yeah, I think the thing that always makes me sad is I always wish that we could just price things like really low and like everyone could just get it, but especially on first runs, and this is one of the things that like I really hope as we are able to do higher volume and people know more about us and the knives and things like that, that we are able to then start, because like it's the startup costs. It's always, if you do a new knife design, right? If you do a new knife design, if you do anything like that, it will always cost a lot of money to design, to prototype, to get the new molds, to get the new techniques, to get the new everything. Startup costs are always the most. And then, once you have the startup costs out of the way, that's when you can start to really, oh my God, all of these fell? God, okay, I need a ladder. Then all of these then costs can start to go down because then you're looking at material costs. I hope you guys can still hear me. I went into another room. I do have this attached to me, but I never know. And so the startup and material costs, actually I should set up lighting. Let me set up lighting first. So startup and material cost is going to be like the biggest problems with things. And I'm gonna go ahead and zoom the camera out so y'all can actually just see the setup as we do it. I think that zooms it out. So as I'll set up this light. This is my big AMRAM 300. This is my most expensive light. I was convinced to buy it. Good lights make, like the secret of making things look good is not actually nice cameras. Nice cameras can compensate for bad lighting a little bit. But in the end, if you have good lighting, then it will make any camera look really good, even a phone camera. So if you have to spend a lot of money on something, lights. Spend it on lights. Oh. And then don't break them. Because like, this kind of stuff is, this is what's known as a grid light. It has some soft light properties to it. Actually, did they use any? Okay, cool. And then this grid helps direct and focus the light. This is the secret to making a quote-unquote cinematic look, sort of. I don't like to use that word too much because like cinematic means different things to different people. It's kind of one of those things like when you tell an artist, can you make it pop more? And then they're like, what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean make it pop more, right? There we go. See this big old thing? That is a grid light. Yeah, anyone want to guess how much an AMRAM 300C costs? It's a light. How much can a light cost? Turns out a lot. A light like this is realistically $1,000. Okay, that's a little much. It is $600, which is quite a bit for one light. But it does have full RGB. It has a lot of this dome I have to buy separately as well. And then the videographers actually have a light that we like to joke can fight the sun and win. That one's like $6,000. That was the main light that we used for, and that was the main light that we were using for. Oh man, I need this hat to actually keep the hair out of my face. That was the main light we used from this direction for the shoot. Okay, so if I'm going from there, we're shooting shadow side, so I want it here. So one of the key things to think about when you're setting up lighting is you want to shoot. If anyone's ever heard of like 3-point lighting, one of the simplest things to think about is you want your camera and your light to be actually opposite directions. So my light is going to be, if my camera is here at you guys, I want my camera on that side. You want opposite sides as much as possible. And what that does is that gives you a more dynamic range. That allows your eyes to be able to see more 3D, and it looks more cinematic and all that kind of stuff. We got a flashlight and umbrella at home. No, that actually works. So that actually works, right? Like, so this is my flashlight. It's also very powerful. Like you can see, even I need to recharge it. But like you can see, even with all the lights on, you can still see it. If I were to put a soft filter over this, right? So if I say, if the lights were on and then I use like this, then this can actually act as a soft light. You don't have to have, so one of the things with expensive lighting like this is that you don't have to have super expensive lights if you only have one scene to set up. If you are doing something like a stream, you're doing like cooking, or you're setting up for just like one sort of thing, then a single type of light and stuff will do very well for you. However, if you need to be shooting multiple different kinds of scenes and different kinds of things and different kinds of filming and that sort of stuff, like if we're going to be doing KFP, all the bright oranges and that sort of stuff will film very differently than if we're shooting, and I'll go and turn the camera a bit so you guys can see. But this will, right, as I set this up, you'll see, stop turning, damn it. But this is one of those things that, oh my God, it's so annoying. Lock in place, damn it. Stop. Oh, shit. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Stream still going? Cool. So for singular scenes, you don't have to worry about things like having, RGB and all this other setup. Because like if I'm going to be standing over there, the camera's going to be over there. I want this here. So this is currently set to an orange light. This needs to be my main light because I don't have. There we go. And bring that to 100. I might actually even, well, no, I need a softbox regardless. And then I'm going to go with a, no, that's not good, the right color anymore. I'm going to go I'm going to put a little dash of green onto it. And one of the interesting things about adjusting color and adjusting how you're creating light is, for instance, there's a ton of orange bouncing around over there. When light hits something, and this is one of the things that is like, I'm gonna be a little bit nerdy about because I think it's worth talking about for how amazingly the videographers were able to do this. But when you have this much orange around, it's actually really, really hard. It's actually so hard to get the colors right. And so when you're looking at me and you don't adjust the colors right, I look like I'm in Willy Wonka's factory. Everything just looks orange because all the orange light is reflecting. So what we have to do, what I'm gonna attempt to do here, and I don't know if I will do it as well as they will. I mean, I know I won't be doing it as well as they will. Like that's kind of the point of having them, right? Is that this stuff needs to have, this stuff needs to have color balancing. So the opposite of orange usually is blue, but the problem is if you just go blue, it just doesn't show up as well. So we actually usually need to do something like green. So what I just did over here was I set a tiny bit of green tint on here. That's something that you won't be able to see very well by itself, but, and you'll actually see when we have this light set up, now this is brighter, but we definitely look like we have direct light going like that. And you see over there is too shiny. That is too shiny. So what I then need to do is figure out, okay, how do I want to direct this light so I do have additional light? I'm not casting too much shadow as well. That is one of the difficulties. So what I think I have to do is I actually have to move this camera more. So I get more of an angle on things, right? So this angle, do you see how just by moving the camera a little bit, now it doesn't look quite as dark? I can see more of the light bouncing because with how the angles are set up, this and this corner now bounces light directly into the lens a little bit better. I wish I could turn the shutter speed down, but I'm basically at max, and it's just a very big space. And then you can see if I zoom out, now you can see everything. If I zoom in, ta-da, it suddenly looks like a KFP set. I probably want to bring that a little, because like I'm still getting a ton of reflection over here. So in order to give a better light setup, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to set up some tube lights, like here, and then some other lights around. And it's going to take me a little bit to start yapping about the knife, so just a heads up on that. Yeah, and then you can see now how I'm lit from, where did I put my phone? I need to use my phone to actually check how this looks. Another difficult part about, wait, no, actually, yeah, where did I put my phone? Guys, do you see where I put my phone? What the? Where'd my phone go? Oh, there it is. It's literally right here. Okay, so if you look at, so now if you look at here, and I'm standing here in the light, obviously this is blocking things a little bit, and I do need to use it, so I'll just set it aside for now. But now we have more light. You can see I'm definitely illuminated a lot more. I have to use the overhead lights, and one of the biggest problems with overhead lights is that they are casting a bit of a shadow. Just because of the location and where the AC is and everything, but that's not something I really can do too much about because I only have that one light. I do have 2 other fill lights I have, so I'm gonna go ahead and set those up as well and just drop those from the front. And this is the kind of work that goes into setting all this up, right? So even while I was figuring out tech issues and everything before now, I was hoping to have, gotten all of this done, but setup always takes longer than you think. Most of our time, the actual filming part does not take nearly as much time. What actually takes the most amount of time, a little spider there. No, go away. What actually takes the most amount of time is setting up the lights and making sure everything looks good. I would say that if you were looking at how much time it takes to do things, the actual filming part of things probably will take 20% of the time. The rest is 80% of it is going to be setup, planning, makeup, costuming, set design, scripting, all that kind of stuff. The actual filming, the time where I need to be on set actually doing whatever, is very, very low, very, very little. So that's actually why I wanted to also just kind of show you guys the setup and how all this goes, because the kind of work that goes behind it is actually most of it. So what I'm setting up right now are fill lights. Because here's the fun thing, right? And here's a little story about how all of this turned out. At the very beginning, we did not have this set that we wanted to do. At the very beginning, I had just this 3-compartment sink. And we thought if we had the 3-compartment sink and we had that KFP sign in the background, we can just make a cute little skit, right? We can make it look pretty decent. Pretty okay. But I didn't want just to be okay. I'm always the kind of person who wants to see what we can do and do more and really push the limits of what's possible. Because the only way you can get better, the only way you can improve, is by pushing your limits. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you're never pushing your limits, and you're never doing something new or trying something that's hard, by definition, doing something that is easy means that you've done it 1,000 times, and that you're not learning anything from it. If it's hard, if you're struggling, that's when you're learning. That's when you're actually getting better. That's when you're actually improving. And because of that, what we always want to do here is we always want to challenge ourselves. And so it was like, okay, if we set up the sink and then those the deep fryer and the burner in the background, and we just filmed like that, it would have been fine. I'm sure it would have looked, it would have looked great still with the lighting and with the costumes and all that kind of stuff. But then we took a look at it and we went, shit, is this really all we can do? Is that it? You know? And no, absolutely not. I wanted to do something that was like actually as special as possible. What do you think of people who manage to be content with much more little? Like the thing is, what I want to be doing, because I'm gonna assume. What do you think of people who manage to be content? I'm gonna assume it. People who manage to be content with a little. No, that's fine. Like, here's the thing, right? As complex and as all of this seems, the kind of budget that we have and the kind of resource that we have going into this is astronomically tiny compared to any other crew who gets to work on these sets. Normally to build a set like this, normally to film the kind of stuff that we did, easily over $100,000, if not more. Actually, I was quoted, especially with like the fire knife and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. A previous project I had that I was looking at another film company, I was seeing how much would it cost from inception all the way to like finished product with editing and all that kind of stuff. And it was less complex than this, and they quoted me $125,000. This is not even a tenth of that. It's what I find interesting is that like what we are able to do is when I talk about pushing the boundaries of what's possible, we do it through skill and primarily through what we're capable of. We're taking every little bit that we have and making the max with it. Like that sink over there, that sink was free. That is a sink I've been keeping around, non-functional, for the last 4 years, and I finally got to use it. It's not functional. It's just sitting there as a prop. The legs aren't even very stable. That's like one of the reasons why the owners wanted to get rid of it, is they would have to like, you know, do a re-weld and all that kind of stuff. Similarly, those don't work. I would have to fix them for them to work. It cost the owner of that deep fryer less money to just get rid of it and give it to me for $100 than to get a trash disposal company to take care of it. And then also the burner in the back, same thing. All of these things around are made from the things that we had on hand or done very cheaply and using the opportunity that we had to find them. What we do is not have a specific vision and go, we need to hit that vision no matter what. We look at the pieces that we have. And fun fact, this is actually one of the ways that a autistic or on the spectrum person will think compared to a more holistic person. And this is obviously a spectrum, so it depends on the person and the amount of autism they have. I am autistic, if you couldn't tell. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but I mask very well. That's one of the things with acting as well. Anyway, tangent. What we do with all of this is we are able to make a lot more happen because we don't go, this must happen no matter what. We will pay any price and any cost for it. Instead, we take the pieces that we have and we go, what can we do with it? What is the maximum amount of stuff? And what is the maximum impact? What is the maximum impact? What is the maximum value we can do by doing things these way? And from there, that's how we built the set as it is. Once again, that's just foam. That's all just foam. Very cheap. Takes a lot of work, yeah. But it was all thinking about what are the pieces and building it from the ground up. Instead of having a vision and going from how do I reach that vision from going downwards. We didn't sketch out a specific design like this and go, we must build towards that vision. That's the usual way of doing things, but not how we like to do things. We do things in that very do things in that very autistically coded bottom-up thinking kind of processing. This is actually also why there's a lot of sensory issues and a lot of overstimulation in the autistic spectrum, because when you have to process any new information, you're processing everything again from the ground up. So sensory stimulation is a big thing, and that's why autistic individuals tend to like things the same, because if you have everything the same, you don't need to reprocess everything from the ground up. I torture myself a little bit because I both have ADHD and autism, and that means that I'm also chasing novel things. So I have this friction in my brain of needing the novel experiences, but that every time I encounter novel experiences, it's exhausting, it's tiring. But also, if I don't, it's boring. So, but for people who have this, but for people who are content with less stuff, that's fantastic. That's great. Japanese, Japanese masters who are able to do a lot with a little and keep finding new things, doing things over and over and over again. That is fundamentally what we are doing over here as well. Look at, right now, KFP, we can see this and go, wow, we've done so much over all of this. But do you know how many shitty things I've produced? Look at how many views on all of the things that we have posted on the Vite Ramen YouTube have. Some of them have less than 100. And I will still spend weeks worth of time scripting and writing and doing all of it, because it is the love of the project. It is the love of trying to do things and make something incredible, and knowing you have limits. You have not built that skill yet, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's gonna suck in some ways. But yeah, do it anyway, because that is the only way to build a skill. And the only way we were able to get this done and be able to do all of this is because I've been working with those videographers for 8 years now. That we know how each other think, we know how to build things, we know that when I write a script, that's not going to be final. When I write a script, as we're on set, as we're discussing things, we go, what about that? Wait, we have these pieces, let's put that together. Like I said, these walls were never meant to be here. This color was never meant to be here. Those boxes over there were never meant to be there. Which, by the way, that is the actual packaging that you guys will be receiving the Kotori hat and the ramen in. Because we want it to be like a fast food experience. That thing, one of the unfortunate things is you'll have to kind of like fold that up by yourself, but they will fold down. Man, I should get some water or something. I didn't think about that. Oh, no, I have coconut water. Nice. Ooh, one sec. Oh, there's a lot of sharp knives over here. I should be careful. Okay. I will talk about the knife eventually. I just want to set up all the lighting. I got on a tangent again. Also, I always keep coconut water on set, because those videographers I work with as well, they also just get so into things they forget to eat, they forget to drink. And one of my jobs on set, as they're setting up lighting, and I don't have that much to do, is I cook things. I get water, I get energy drinks, and I go, eat! And they're like, oh, no, I'm setting out lighting. I'm like, I know what the lighting setup is. I know once you're done setting this particular setting, you will need to go check, and then you're gonna go back and readjust. After you check, you will eat this plate of food, you will drink this coconut water, you will be hydrated, you will have caffeine, you will have food. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so tired. What's going on? I'm shaking. Because you didn't eat all day. I like to joke, actually, that the videographers like working with us so much because every time, I'm gonna turn this around so you guys can see, like, as I set this other stuff up. And the videographers, I joke, like to work with me a lot because, and it's like it's both true as a joke and not, that they like to work with us because every time I'm feeding them, every time afterwards, I also go like, hey, if you guys want to hang out at my house and you guys want to, and all of my baijiu and whiskey and whatever else, yeah, go ahead, whatever you want. Funnily enough, we're also tired by the end. We're just usually they're like, if I touch any of it, because like we're not drinking to get drunk. We like and we're just we're the enjoyers, the ones who like the taste and flavor, which I know is a weird concept to a lot of people. But oh man, come on, don't. Does that work? Oh geez, I need this to stay up. Okay, maybe that'll work. Sure, whatever. I need some fill light. So basically what I'm doing right now is I am trying to set up our fill lights. Basically I don't have enough like direct front light. It's just, is that moving over time? Yeah, that's just like slowly shifting that way, huh? But what we do is we try to do as much as possible with little. I will tell you right now that even the smallest kitschy little animation budgets that some people have are going to be more than, is going to cost more than this entire set cost. This entire set, like, ooh, okay, let me just do that for a sec. Does anyone want to guess how much this entire set cost? Oh my god, am I not going to have room to, no, I should, okay, does that work? Hopefully. How much would you say that a set like this costs? And if, like everything here, yeah, the sink, the racks, the walls, the posters, this, the restaurant equipment, all of that. $6,000, $5,000, $2,500. Hello bread and 17 cents, around 3,650. I want to say under 500. I feel like some of you are guessing really, really low and are like trying to go by Price is Right rules. We're not playing Price is Right, guys. we are not playing Price is Right. Yeah, so I set up those lights over there. Wow, I'm like almost exactly. Yeah, you see now everything is lit up very brightly, right? And what I can do now is because of that, I can turn down the shutter speed, or I can turn up the shutter speed, and boom. I think we still want it at like 30 or so. Now we have a lot of light, but it is very direct. So I probably want to soften the light a little bit and or make it taller and bounce it down. So right now it's going and then bouncing right back. In order for us to get a better light, I'm guessing we probably want to bring it up. That way the light goes downwards like this. So, 6,000 on the low end, maybe 12,000 on the high end. Less than $1,000. Free. So let me just start pointing things out. Sink, free. That, children's toy, 20 bucks. That, already had it. Napkin holders, like 15 bucks. Already had it. That stuff over there, that is actually from our old microwave dehydrator. I just took it apart and put it there to make it look, sciencey, to do the whole, this is the machine that Agent V and stuff made. That grill, we actually got for free as well. Turns out I'd just been sitting here for years as well, and I just didn't know existed, so that was nice. Those printed out, those are just, those are like 11 by 12 papers. We just printed it out. That one was a little bit more expensive. I want to say that was 50 bucks. The wall tiling, I think we only bought like 60 bucks worth of that. All the foam boards, like 200 bucks, $100, $400. So in the end, we're looking at maybe a little bit over 1,000. To build a set like this normally, if you want to be doing something like this, easily north of 10,000. Actually, if I were to ask another company to build this, and then add like all of this other stuff on top of it, I think they would easily charge closer to $25,000 to $30,000. Like I said, and this is one of those things like what we already had as assets, right? That's exactly what we're doing. We always look at from the ground up build. What do we got? How do we build from what we have? It's like the different, and how I like to explain this, and this is one of my personal things, right? This is one of my personal things because I am autistic. I do have ADHD. I mask really well, so most people can tell I have ADHD because of how fast I talk and how excitable I get about things. Most people don't really think I have autism. I just luckily have that pairing of autism and ADHD in which I have literally studied social cues enough and then practiced masking until I go, it's instinctive, it is fast, just like playing a game. Person does this, this is how I should react. Person does this, this is how I should react. It's just the same as if you start playing, if you play Overwatch or something like that, and you're like, oh yeah, the best Genjis know exactly when to deflect. The best divas can eat ults right away. You know, or in League, you can like reaction. I don't know much about League. I don't play League. You know, you can reaction do all that kind of stuff. You train social interactions in that way. Every social interaction has rules. They have the same rules. It's just that allistic people figure it out without ever having to think about it. But just because you're autistic doesn't mean that you can't figure it out either. And you'll see there are situations where I just freeze up and I go, oh God, I have not trained for this. I don't know what the proper reaction is. And you'll actually see, follow my stuff carefully and any kind of live interactions and stuff, you'll see me use the same technique. I'll respond the same way to a lot of things because it is that practice thing. That's, honestly, it's equip auto-masking? No, absolutely, right? And the reason I talk about that is because for those of you who were on earlier, and I don't remember how many people were here talking about it, but autistic thinking is from the ground up. So what that does allow us to do, and why I've been able to start Vite, like I built the machines, I did all the facility and all that kind of stuff. I didn't pay people to do it, I just fucking learned it. I didn't know anything about machines before I started. I didn't know anything about lighting or videography or editing or anything. I just learned it. Because if someone else can learn it, why not you? That's my philosophy, and and then from the ground up, learn it, create it, build it. And so you look at all this kind of stuff, and instead of thinking, this is what I want, I must go there, if it doesn't work like that, everything is over, it's screwed, it's like Legos. You can have the Death Star kit that you build, and it gives you the instructions, and you go, I want to build the Death Star out of this. And it gives you the instructions in the kit. And that's how, and then you try and get all the pieces for it. And that's how a allistic process would work. Allistic means not autistic, by the way, so I just like to differentiate. An autistic mindset is instead, I have this pile of pieces. What can I build out of it? And that's also, and especially for an autistic ADHD kind of person, this is where you will be accused a lot of, why are you always changing your mind? I can't keep up with you. You're too much. Can you make up your mind already? Why do you keep changing things? And people get frustrated with you. Because when you're building that, you have a vague idea of what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. But you don't have the end goal because you don't know what pieces exactly you have. And maybe you misinterpreted your pieces. Maybe you're trying to build a car. You look at this set of stuff you have and you go, I want to build a car out of it. You look at these Lego pieces, and then it goes, as you build it, you go, I only have 3 wheels. Or this 4th wheel is really small. What do I do instead? Oh, okay, well, I have these wings. Let me make a plane instead. And then people working with you goes, what the hell, why'd you change your mind again? And it's like, well, because I didn't know what I was, I got there, and the wheel was small. What do you want me to do? And that same idea and that same process is how we made this. And actually, that knife, I want to, like, well, once again, I'll talk about the knife a little bit because, like, you know, I want to, I haven't actually hit record on that thing yet. This is just recording through, like, you know, regular OBS kind of stuff. But when I start talking about the knife I do want to record, and what's important about that is the knife, a Damascus knife, like a copper Damascus knife like that, is normally really expensive. It's really hard to do. Luckily, we now have better technology. We have better stuff on how to make something like that. And a fully custom design and fully custom design with, you know, fully custom kitted everything, reasonably, for when I went and asked a bunch of knife nerds about this and went, hey, you're a knife enthusiast, you have a lot of kitchen knives or pro chefs, how much do you think a knife like that would cost? And by and large, the answer was going to be something like, oh, it's going to be, that is going to be going for $800, $1,000, $1,200. Because I don't even own a copper Damascus knife. I have so many knives. They're just really rare. Luckily, the process is not that uncommon. It's just that it's not built much because it is still very expensive to make in comparison to other knives. I'm not going to tell you that no, these are like all custom forged and whatever. But the way that we price it is very specifically due to being able to actually from the ground up design instead of going, this is exactly what I want. I think about what are my pieces? What are the things that I have to work with? And with those things that I have to work with, what can I build out of it to look as much like Kiara's knife as possible? Kiara's sword as possible. Because like originally thinking about it, right? You can see that handle over there uses the colors of Kiara's blade. And it's just like, you can't really color a blade in that same way without, you know, introducing toxic materials and things like that. So how do we do it? What kind of motif can we do on that blade instead? And then when you build it, you think, what are the construction techniques that will cost additional money? What are the kind of build sets that will create additional problems? And I'll talk about that with like how the bolster works and the tang and all that kind of stuff as well. What can we do to make the knife as generally affordable as possible without bringing it into the $500 plus range, $800 range that other knives might have to do? And like, oh, I'm still on the set build. Oh my God, I need to hurry up. Not that I'm really on a time limit, but like, you know, I don't want to bore you guys too much. I just get really off topic and on tangents about stuff that I have strong feelings about. So, okay. Let me, oh, So I'm going to go ahead and set up these lights. I'm sure you can see it being adjusted. Then I'll tilt this down a little bit. That way we get light, but maybe not as much bounce. And I think that is going to be one of, and that is one of the interesting things, I think, for me personally, about just how everything is built. I think we very much exist in a world where everyone is really told to do things in one very specific way, and if you don't do it in that very specific way, then you know you've done it wrong. As much as we are told as kids, oh, you know, everyone has their own way of doing things, and things like that. When you actually get into the world, when you actually, you know, talk to people, when you actually talk about things, and you actually experience the world, that's not actually what happens. What actually happens is that you are punished all the time for not being normal, for not being that average. And here's the thing, too. There is no one in this world that fits all those criteria. As much as someone could potentially be holistic. Oh, well, that started failing. We didn't use enough glue on these. We were assembling them pretty quick. I think we didn't press them together or something. I don't know. But as much as people do talk about, oh, I love, being unique is different. Anyone who has been bullied for being different, anyone who has been told, hey, you're being too much, you're being too energetic, you're talking too much about this thing that you like, no one cares. We all know what it's like, I think, to be considered too much, to be considered not normal, because no one fits that average thing. And then there are people who chase this average, that want to be as normal as possible. And I think even them, because there is no real set of normal, there's no real set of what normal is defined, because you'll always be weird to someone, because you're a real life person. And so everyone just gets little bits of trauma, little bits of bad memories and bad experiences and all this kind of stuff as they do things, as they grow, as they learn, and we all end up with these experiences on how the world treats you for being different. And as someone who is different and has, luckily, I guess, not given much of a shit and has to figure out, hey, this is not being normal is fine, and not only is it just fine, but it's good. Not being normal means that you can be creative. Not being normal means that you are different. To be an entertainer, to be anyone who is going to be doing anything which is bigger or different or better or anything like that, you have to be different. I still hold a theory that the majority of VTubers and other, oh man, can this go any higher? The majority of VTubers and other creatives in the space probably have some form of neurospiciness, because that same creativity, right, is what makes someone a little bit different, a little unusual. Once you get to learn to like that, where'd I put my phone again? Ah, there it is, found it. That's when you can do cool things. Because man, do you know how many people, when I'm like, hey, we're gonna build a whole set for KFP, we're gonna, or like even like at that last minute, right? Like I already had a full script written for the chopstick Agent V thing, and it was like, oh, well, why don't, well, I could just release the script, and it was fine, right? The original script had plenty of references. It used every song name in all the lines, so that was fine. But you know what's even cooler than that? If I completely decide to change the script in the moment, yeah, I think I'll not worry about framing for now so that you can actually see what I'm doing. What if I just changed everything that day, and in one day just decided I'm going to make it better, because when am I going to have the chance to be able to do this again? Right? To be able to completely write things with just song lyrics. And it's like, I think I sacrificed a little bit of the story for that, because like, and some people, I know in some of the comics of the Agent V thing where it was talking about the chopsticks, they're like, oh yeah, you just left the room a mess, and then went, oh yeah, that's how it is. No, I wrecked that room because like the original lines in the original things was referring to the Great Wanderer lyrics, and they were referential instead of being the direct lyrics. and was talking about, and the implication that this used to be Agent V's room, and so as he was transforming, he wrecked the room and that kind of stuff. Obviously, just using lyrics from the song made that not really something I could express as well, but I think it was worth it. Because like in the end, it's not like, oh yeah, this story needs to be. It's not like in the end the story needs to be the most. Like I put a lot of work in the story. Don't get me wrong. There's like 50 pages of just notes. But that also being said, it's not like I'm trying to write a masterpiece for the generations that will be analyzed like Shakespeare for centuries to come. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll be lucky. Maybe someone does a video essay on the Agent V video sometime and goes, this is in 50 years and goes, this was actually a misunderstood thing in its time or something like that. That would be funny. I'll be like 80 or 90 or whatever, and someone's like, ah yes, look at this ancient thing from the start of VTubers, before VTubers took over the world. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be interesting? One of my dreams when I get old is like 50 years down the line for someone to send a message and just be like, this knife you made, or a cutting board or something like that, I gave it as I've been using it all my life, and I can't really cook too much anymore, so I gave it as a gift to my grandchildren. And for, just one day, some kid 50 years from now opens a gift for their birthday, or under his Christmas tree, or during Lunar New Year or whatever, and it's this old, weathered Kikakiri, or Danhiki, or Zentrea's circuit breaker. And it's been well used and well loved, and still works. Maybe it isn't a full knife anymore. Maybe it's more like a paring knife after being used so much. But something that's passed down. And then the old grandpa, who normally is so serious, suddenly lights up and starts talking about his Oshi back in the day. Starts talking about how those concerts made him feel when he first found the friends who also liked the Oshi. And all the things that he'd done over the years. Maybe how he made a meal that wowed his now wife with that knife. And it's like he's transported back in time. I've always been fascinated with those kind of things. With how items and, with how items and how different, oh God, that's hard. How items and how different kinds of memories can be formed with sentimentality. Oh, I'm just not gonna bother with this one, honestly, it's already blocked anyway. How people can form those sentimental attachments with things, and like for me, also, some things I will have not seen for years, I'll pull out of a box and then it's suddenly like I'm transported 15, 20 years in the past. Remember exactly how it was when I did this or that with this thing that I got. There's a spoon, actually. The knives that I have now, actually, are not my original knives from when I used to cook at a Michelin star restaurant. All the knives that I have now, everything that I have is new. Because one day, when I was coming back from a shift, it was a hard day. Nothing went right, and everyone was yelling at each other and blaming each other. I was exhausted. I didn't want to think, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted some quick dopamine, and back then I was addicted to Dark Souls 2. So all I wanted to do as soon as my car pulled in the driveway is just to go in and boot up Dark Souls and go fight some people on the PvP bridge. I just perfected a double chicken drumsticks build. Back when the DLCs were just first released and you had those giant hammers, or not hammers, the giant clubs. I don't remember what they're called anymore. And I didn't take my knife bag out. And my knife bag was something that was made fun of at work too. Because everyone else's knife bag was slimmed down and was very compact. They only brought what they needed. They didn't have that much stuff. Mine was from culinary school. And because it was from culinary school, it had all these tools from culinary school that maybe weren't really needed. But I brought them anyway because what if, just in case I needed it. And because of that, my knife bag always looked very, very full. And so when I left it in that car that day, I came back the next morning. My car window had been shattered. My entire knife bag, every single tool I owned, every single knife I had collected over the years, including a super special one, Chris Reeve Sakayo, that I had to wait 6 months to get. Gone. But as sad as that is, one day, hilariously, 4 years later, I found a single spoon, a plating spoon, one of the large ones, that is used for saucing, is used for saucing and for all kinds of stuff. Turns out, because all of us would wrap a specific color of tape around our spoons to mark that it's ours, because this spoon was so nice and so popular that everyone had the same kind. And and I met another cook who had been at the restaurant I had been at before. And he was like, oh yeah, remember I used your spoon years ago, and I forgot to return it. And that spoon's the only thing that survived. And every time I use that spoon, it reminds me of the era when I was working in Michelin star restaurants, of the memories I had, both good and bad. And I think one day I might not have a use for that spoon anymore, and I will pass it on to another generation. Someone else to create their own stories with that spoon. Make their own memories with it. Now tell them my story with the spoon. And all the things I'd done with it, and how it survived when nothing else did. Because some dumbass borrowed my spoon and forgot to return it. And one day, I hope, the things we make, the knives, the cutting boards, maybe the aprons, hats, whatever it is that it might be, will carry their own stories and be passed down generation by generation, person to person. and stories will be told, and people will have memories because of it. It's weird, right? It's like, I'm saying that, and some people might sit here and go, well, yeah, you're making stuff for VTubers. And I think that is something that has been, I think that's something that some people have said before. Like, why are you putting so much work into it? It's for a VTuber, it's merch, right? Why care so much about it? And to those people, I say, you don't know the first thing about VTubers if you think that. You don't know how many people have had dark moments or times when they felt alone or just needed a little something in their life that made them happy. And they could find this person that was drawing or streaming or just talking to their audience and found something that made their life that much better. And to that I say, why do we not put that much effort into merchandise? Why is the standard to have something that is, okay, that's just not gonna go up. That's fine, I'm filming this direction anyway. Why do we not have more work put into it? Why don't we respect everything that the VTubers have done? Oh, cool, perfect, look at that. Nice. Go a little that way. I can't get that on safely without moving the sink, and moving the sink myself is not a good idea right now, I will say. So, I think the sink is a little bright, but that might be okay. Let me set up the tubes. Well, that's my personal opinion on it anyway. I think people a little dismissive of what constitutes joy, what people can do, the connections people have. And I don't know, I think that's why, like, I know Vite, as a whole, the stuff we make tends to be expensive. It does tend to be a lot more than a lot of other companies and a lot of other places. But to me, at least, that's what feels right, to put that kind of effort into things. Because my personal belief about things is that we are, like, we should be bound, we should have a duty to make something that is good enough to represent the kind of connection that people have. And while a standee or a physical item can do that, it doesn't always have the kind of it doesn't always have the kind of connection you have for it. I did do, like, I do you know, some of my other streams, I've done like marketing talk and stuff before about what an item should be able to do as merch. And you have functional items like a knife. That one's pretty obvious, right? You cut things with it, and you can have a connection, and it's functional. But then what about things like, you know, standees and other things like that? Not everything in the world will be able to be, you know, something that's custom designed all the time. Like some of the MOQs and the realities of manufacturing and producing things don't align with that, as unfortunate as that is. But in my opinion, when we do have the chance to do so, we should. Because we should respect the kind of relationship that everyone has with the kind of work that has been put in behind the scenes for everyone who does these things. And to create something that can tell a story, that can create those memories. Personally, I think every single, and my problem with like more generic standees and stuff is that I like them as well, but you can only have so many unless you're like, if you're a collector, that's one thing. But at some point, I like standees and other things like that to remind me of a specific moment with that streamer, with that VTuber. I want that thing to talk about, man, do I have enough battery to just like turn this on and not worry about it? I might. I do not. And so with all of that, it just ends up becoming, oh my God. Oh geez, is this one cable? Shit. Oh no, it's two, nice. And so with all of that, what we end up seeing is we see that when we're chasing merch, when we're creating things, I always want to be a storyteller and someone who can help make that connection stronger instead of using a connection to just make money or something like that. There's nothing, once again, I don't think there's anything specifically wrong with that. It's just not to my personal thing. It's not like we will not make standees if requested. And it's not like we won't make certain things. It's just that given a choice and given a chance, I want to make special things. I want to make things that are memorable. And hopefully, this entire KFP thing has been memorable and will be something that people do remember and have fond memories of. Oh my God, stop tangling. It keeps unplugging itself. Ah! Oh. You can see how long I've been taking to set up, and I'd set up tech and other stuff before this too, and which is why we usually have a whole crew to do things, though their setup is even more complex than this. Whew. Okay, and then one of the things I also do want to mention is when doing the Agent V thing, some of the fun things about the Agent V series is that we wanted to construct the Agent V series in a way that was like, because like I know there is some amount there like for live action things, right? Live action in VTuber space, while it's just like 3D is now, is like 3D is fully accepted now. But back in the day, 3D was also kind of like looked down upon. Now everyone has a 3D model. And I know that like live action, especially back in the day, was like a big no-no. It's an immersion break. I don't have the money or the ability to do, I don't have the money or ability to do like a full 2D animation as much as I would absolutely love to. And so my choices were basically to do this kind of was to basically do this kind of live action stuff. And then the question is, how do I do a live action thing that is still immersive to build into the Kiara lore and to make it so it's not so jarring to suddenly see me on screen? And so one of the things I dearly wish one day is that I actually have enough money to hire actors. I don't like being in front of the screen all the time. I have to mask, I have to act. It's very tiring for me. besides then also not being able to see exactly what's going on behind the camera, not being able to actually direct and do all that kind of stuff. But for me, if I were to just like show up with my face and everything immediately like that, that would be jarring. I don't think it would work very well. It wouldn't be in the spirit of immersion of VTubers. And so then the question becomes, how do you do that? How do you make it immersive and in the spirit of VTubers while doing live action? It's hard. It's very hard. So concepting is a very concepting this entire thing was very necessary in making this work, in respecting the immersion as much as possible, even though we're doing live action and my mug has to be on screen because I can't hire actors. I don't have the money to, right? And so it's like, if we use a generic narrator and then we name this as just like name the character as a KFP employee, then we are able to get somewhere. We are able to do things. Is that enough blue light on the back? Do I need to use this as a regular light? I might need to bring this a little closer, actually. I don't think there's enough blue. Did I bring another stand? I don't think I brought another stand. That might have been a mistake. Ooh, actually, I think there's a couple stands over. But when we are, hopefully you guys can still hear me as I go grab other stuff. But as we, the first concepts that we had, oh God, that is giant. Okay, maybe not. Holy crap. That's the stand for the thing that can beat the sun and win. So, oh yeah, this is a bit of a, well, what about this? What if I do this? Does that work? That might, actually. Neat. Cool. Eh? So when we did the Agent V thing, knowing that we also had to do fast edits, with the voting process showing what people wanted to see, we originally had, like, what we had is we had the stuff already built out in terms of the dossiers and stuff, but you have the A plot of you know, let's find which one is going to be next that you guys want to see, and then we have the B plot of who is Agent V, what is Agent V actually doing, and all that kind of stuff. The B plot has to be put in with the A plot every single time, every single day, which meant that my ass had to edit that new every single day, depending on what you guys chose. While we did have principal footage and stuff done early, this didn't necessarily translate into being able to do a lot of the, okay, now that's a little close. That didn't necessarily translate to being able to have all of the, I guess, it didn't, even though, okay, sorry, brain fart. Even though we did have the, you know, the general dossiers and all that kind of stuff written, what we had to do then after that was to figure out how the hell are we going to actually make, like, the rest of the plot work. By doing a POV, the primary thing that I got to do was, with a POV, and a lot of those shots were like one shot, one take, or minimal cuts, that gets minimal editing. Then I can put most of the work into the ADR, any kind of reshoots, or any additional scenes that I have to do to fill in the space of what the B-story plot was. And then from there, really be able to get the rest of the plot done. The POV was done for a couple different reasons. POV allows for also a slower introduction to live action, so you don't have to be hit with live human being and live action footage at the same time. ADR and live action and the POV footage then allows for a much slower transition into the immersion process before we get to the whole set and then all of this. And then especially like with the Casper scene and all that kind of stuff, we actually cut a Casper scene. There's actually a little Casper thing down here too. We actually cut one from the main thing because it just didn't work out very well. But we definitely wanted a lot more. We wanted to respect the immersion, and we wanted to respect, being able to get into things slowly instead of suddenly being hit with everything all at once. And oh, nice. Does that work? Maybe I'll just set it down here. Does that work? How's that look? With the POV, yeah, I'm getting all over the place right now because I'm setting up the lighting. No, that definitely does not work. Well, just like here, that might be nice. No, then you can see too much like random orange light, huh? Is it cheaper to hire a director or an actor? Definitely an actor. A director is very difficult because a director would have to understand the limitations of what you're working with, and your actors and like everything that's like going on. And then because I'm also the one that generally has to go with the editing process, a director is definitely more difficult. Definitely a lot more difficult. Yeah, I want to set up the tube light because it does help the lighting out a lot. I just don't know where to put it. I do like that. Maybe I'll just, it's like if I just put it here, it might work. I just need a little stand for it. I don't have enough stands. That's the annoying part. I knew I should have brought those other stands. I'll have to get creative. Whiteboard, yeah. This is whiteboard as a stand. There's no way it'll fall, right? Oh, hey, that works really well, actually. Okay, so then now do I have a orange fill? Let's see. Will the Zentreya knife ever come back? Yeah, it is being shipped to us right now. Holiday shipping is a nightmare. Once it gets here, we are going to be doing QC. We're going to be looking through all of it, and then we're going to be, and then we'll have to send it out, see if all of them make it. We do have extras on hand to fill orders that don't get to the place that they're supposed to, which unfortunately during holiday season happens a lot, and otherwise does not make it to, or any other thing that might go wrong, or if like it gets damaged in shipping, that's a big one. It's going to be packaged really well. It has the magnetic box and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, if you've seen some of the boxes that go through the Postal Service, you know how many things we got to replace. So if everything does end up getting to everyone okay, which is never a guarantee, then any extras we have will be then shipped. And then we have to keep a reserve of those extras as well. So it's always a whole thing. But if you're lucky, there are going to be reserves. International is always going to be the most difficult part. As you can imagine, international orders get lost by far the most. And get damaged by far the most. Okay, where's my center? Is this my center? I think this is my center, roughly. I just want to move these hats, and then we'll start talking about the knife. I know, those of you who have been waiting for the knife can finally go, oh my God, he's talking about the knife. Let me go to the bathroom real quick though, geez. Unplug my thing. I'll be right back. I'll take the text off. Oh God, it's sticking. Okay. So, cool, let's see. Does that work? Slightly to your right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna head to the bathroom real quick. I need to actually set up a second microphone. A little bit this way. Yeah? I think so. I have a lag on this, so. Okay, so this is my center line. Oh, cool, that mark, cool. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You guys don't get to, follow me hearing to the bathroom. That would be weird. So I'm going to undo this. I will be back later. Yes, sorry, idle meeting. I have returned. Dragoon? StarCraft? Anyone? Oh man, the OG BGM. Yeah, I was considering playing BGM on these, but I think sometimes I don't have the BGM set very well, so it can be a little problematic. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna go without a BGM. Should be all right. What's kind of funny is that this one doesn't record too well when I'm going on stream, and then the other one doesn't necessarily record as well. And then this one can't transmit. So I have to actually have two microphones going at once. It's kind of funny. Okay, that's fully charged. This one, this lapel, that needs to route. This one's annoying. It's got to go under the shirt. Oh, it's cold. At some point in time, by the way, guys, the camera might run out of batteries. If it runs out of batteries, let me know. I'm gonna be watching out for it, but also, oh geez, what the, got the clip, but not the, what the hell? What did I do? I completely, oh God. I somehow disassembled this microphone under my shirt. And now I need to reassemble it. If a pre-order for a collab does well, will that mean that there will be a restock? It will depend, because that's not completely our decision, right? Obviously, it depends on who we're working with as well. But yeah, generally speaking, if it does well, I would like to restock it. Whether or not that can happen is going to be based on contracts and that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Okay. At least I have backup audio like this. Not the best, but. Oh God, lapel mics are so annoying always. All right. Does that work? All right, testing. Testing. Ooh. Testing. Float 100. Recording gain 16.8. Okay. And let me see. Clipping. Guys, I'm going to get real loud real quick. Ah! Okay, so maybe I'd back that down to 14. All right. So this way, hopefully there's no clipping. Yeah. Recording quieter, I think, is always better. 10 might be good. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, what if I whisper? All right, still picking it up. That's good. All right. Did the discount code have an expiry date or use limit? I will let you in on a little secret. We did actually increase it. It's kind of more or less almost going to be. We increased it because a bunch of reasons. We thought there would be basically there's because of how sales proportions went with all the different items. What we were able to do, luckily, was to increase it because we're just like, oh, cool. Right now, there is. Oh, what the hell? Is that working? Yeah. Yeah. Basically, there is. I think it should still be available. If it's not, let me know. We just kind of like hand increase often. Generally, because like generally speaking, I kind of like to reward people who come to the streams and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Actually, like, what if I just made like a knife discount like right now? If it's just like if that code doesn't work, I mean, I guess let me know. Let me know if the discount doesn't work. If it doesn't, then I will. I'll make a new one, I guess. Ah. All right. Let me start recording. Yeah, like I said, the camera will go off at some point. The best way to let me know, tag the Vite spy in KFP server and or go on the Vite Discord. All right. Oh, no, I should get the cutting board and stuff first. I should get all the other stuff out. Here we go. I have some cool microscopes too to up in the mount on this. Oh, there we go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show the microscopes well on camera, but I brought them, and then you guys will then have to just watch the regular video later. I'll just throw all these knives inside. I have a plan, see? Oh, man. And then I need to get the actual knife. Am I dumb? Where did I? Huh? Nani the fuck did I put this? Doko? Knife doko. What? Oh. No, yeah, middle of this table. Sorry, I was talking about this other knife here, which I will also talk about for reference. This is a microscope, it's cool. I think this one you'll be able to see the screen of. Anyway. Ah! Okay. I'll just go ahead and move this one out of the way so that we can actually show this off and talk about it. This one is a super fancy knife, by the way. This one is a Mizuhanyaki, my most expensive knife. All right. And starting. Checking my frame. Hopefully my battery holds out, and we're recording. Behave, chat, we're recording. We've technically been recording the whole time. I'm gonna just be quiet for a little bit, and 3, 2, 1. Ah! All right, that'll match the sound signature. Cool. All right. So, this is the story of how this knife came to be. This is the story of how Takanashi, oh my God. And I want y'all to just go ahead and, I want y'all to also just go ahead and ask any questions along the way, because that will help me. I also have that whole big list I created too, but you know. which I will pull up for my own reference. Cool. All right, so the Kikakiri and this is Takanashi Kiara's knife and cutting board, and these were designed to be like you are able to hold the sword and shield of Takanashi Kiara. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the cutting board first, just because like it is, I know we're talking about the knife right now, but bear with me. This is a cutting board that is actually very functional. I've seen talk about this cutting board being not that functional, and I don't really know why. It's a cutting surface. You can cut on it, like, eh. I think people are like getting a little too into edge grain versus end grain and all that kind of stuff. And like, guys, it just really doesn't matter that much. Being as someone who has like multiple different kinds of cutting boards, I don't notice a huge wear difference. I think one of the biggest things about wear differences between different woods and edge versus end grain is going to be, one, if you're just like hyper fixated on the extreme sharpness of your knife, in which, sure, I guess, or on the other hand, because you have a low hardness knife. These knives, the Kikakiri, is sharpened, this is hardened to 61 HRC, meaning it is significantly harder than other knives, like, these, your classic German, French style knives, which are going to be about 54 to 55. I think Wusthof has like this big old marketing thing where they're like, oh my God, we got ours to 58. And I'm just like, what? Really? That's it? 58? Anyway, these are to 61. So, personally, I really like the handle of this because you can actually, this is my favorite like light use cutting board, and why I say light use is my heavy use is like I'm cooking for like 10 people. I need a giant board, or 2. I actually will sometimes use 2 cutting boards because I'm just like, I gotta do like 20 onions. This is not gonna fit 20 onions. But if I'm cutting fruit or cutting just like, something for just cooking for a couple people, this has become my favorite just because the handle is so useful that you can just like, one of the things I love about, for instance, Chinese tai dao, which some people refer to as cleavers, they're not cleavers, I will die on this hill, is you can scoop and use it like a bench scraper. But the nice thing about having a handle is that you don't even need a bench scraper anymore. You just carry the whole thing over to your pot and and then when you're washing it, because like generally speaking, you're not cutting on here, you're not getting anything dirty over here, you can just hold it and you can just wash it like this. Oh my God. Do you know how much of a quality of life change it is to be able to just like wash it like this, and you're not like fumbling in the sink with this giant board and turning it? Like, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I might just start adding like this style of handle to like every single board now. It's just so nice. It's so nice to be able to just like wash like that. It doesn't work for bigger boards because if you get a significantly larger board than this, the leverage is gonna kill your wrist. But like for this, it's just like, oh my God, you can just like wash it like this and just turn it. It's so easy to do. And then the thickness also means that you can't stand it on the side. These cutting boards, by the way, cutting boards will warp. It's a natural wood. This wood will warp over time if you don't take care of it. You do need to use mineral oil on it. You do need to keep it away from, extreme heat and extreme cold. And you do want to store it on its side, especially when it's drying, and it will not warp. If it does warp, don't worry. There is actually a very simple fix. So say it warps, I just bit my tongue. Ow. If it does warp, there is actually a very simple solution. Let's say it's warped this way, right? And there's like a little, it's whoosh. All you gotta do is wet both sides, turn it over. That warp where it goes like this, you just want it to be like a bridge, and it'll slowly warp itself back. That's it. You just leave it, because then the top surface will dry faster than the bottom, and it'll slowly bend itself back. And then it's just like when it gets flat, that's when you dry both sides. Good to go. That being said, store it on its side. make sure you dry it, store it on its side, and you also won't have that problem. So, and it is thick enough to be able to stand on its side, and has even a little air hole so that it's not as easily, I mean, okay, let's be real, right? This air hole, this is not designed because the air hole, this is just what Kiara's shield shape actually is. But we did actually think about, being able to sheath the knife in here, but there were too many considerations about like bacteria buildup and being able to clean it and that kind of stuff. So in the end, we decided it really wasn't worth it. So I know, you should be able to like sheath in that kind of stuff, but food safety first. Some people have also asked, why isn't it painted? And the reason why it's not painted is because paint is not food safe. Any kind of staining or anything like that that we put onto this that is food safe is just either not really cost effective, doesn't look that great anyway, and then we just don't want it to be toxic, right? Like, which, crazy concept. High humidity, would you want to weigh it down? The drying rate warps it? Yeah, no, you don't need to weigh it down or anything. You just do that. If it's warped like that, you just make sure it's a bridge, bridge. That's all you have to think about. Wet both sides, bridge, and then it'll go back to normal. If you lay it too long like that, it will warp the opposite way. But every couple hours, you check it. I mean, this is not warped on me at all, which is good, but yeah. So a couple of cool things about the cutting board is just that, yeah. And then obviously you can hang it up on a wall too if you want. Great charcuterie board. I guess you can try to use that as a tennis racket. I don't know. Go ahead. Badminton? Try it. I don't know. I'm not going to do that with mine. But, and as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but I've been using the hell out of mine. I really like, I always like new things, right? Okay, let's get to talking about this knife. So this knife is the Kikrakiri. And this is the Kikrakiri. It is made out of VG10 and Damascus in a sanmai pattern. This is a sanmai construction. That is to say, it is 3 layers. And the cutting edge over here is going to be pure VG10, while the outside of the blade is going to be in the Damascus with copper. And we specifically like to say copper Damascus. We don't like to use the short form of it, which is Cu-Mascus. So if you spell that out and then you take away the dash, you'll see why we don't like to do it. So yeah, so this is a sanmai process. That means it is a layered steel. So not only does the knife itself have layers like an onion, but not only does the outside Damascus have layers in and of itself, but it is sandwiched for the cutting edge as well. This means that, because if we were to do it where it is pure copper Damascus all the way, then you would have a lot of problems with the copper not cutting well, and that causes problem. And because copper is not good at cutting. It does not keep an edge. It doesn't retain an edge very well, and so yeah. Did someone try putting the Damascus in? Yeah. Is hanging away from the wall good too? I don't know actually. I'm gonna be real honest. I have not actually tested hanging on the wall drying. So if you do that and that works, let me know. But yeah, copper is this is a sanmai process, which means it layers the decorative part on top of the functional VG10 steel underneath. VG10 steel hardened to 61 HRC, plus or minus 2, because that's pretty normal. We do actually use a vacuum hardening process as well. The vacuum hardening process is there to, it's not super special, I will say. It is kind of special, because it is more expensive, but the vacuum hardening process basically what happens is that instead of doing a normal heat treat on this, it is heat treated in a vacuum. This does create a much
more even heat treat and reduces the amount of variance in a heat treat. On an individual knife basis, not going to matter as much, but on a grand scale, that means we're going to have a lot lower variance and we're going to get a lot closer to that 61 HRC target that we have. Every kind of heat treat will have some variance here and there. That's just how heat treat works. It's not going to be perfectly 61 each time. Plus or minus 2 is the general range that, that is considered like normal tolerance. And the vacuum heat treat prevents it from getting too far out, and we hit 61 with a larger amount of knives. Are the grooves on the back pointy and need to be handled with care? No. So the grooves on the back, I've heard a lot of people talk about the grooves on the back, and as you can see, no, they're not sharp. Yeah. So they do not need to be handled with care. Like if you want to, and I've heard some people be like, oh yeah, can I put the back of my hand on it and chop still? Yes, you absolutely can. You can do this. There's no problems. That being said, why are you putting your hand over here? You know, the fulcrum point, if you want to be doing that style of chopping, it should be like this. It should be more towards the tip. So there's a little tip for you. That'll make your life a lot easier. Towards the tip, and then if you hold here, you have leverage, and you can use the full length of the knife. Don't put your hand over here. And then for those people who are like, I use it over here to bash on the blade, just don't do that. You shouldn't be doing that in the first place. If you have to bash on a blade like that to get it through, it's not the right knife for it. If it's something so hard, you need a thicker, heavier knife for that. This is not what this is for. This is a general purpose knife, not an all-purpose knife. The difference between a general purpose knife and an all-purpose knife is that a general purpose knife is good for most cutting tasks. And I would classify, and the thing is, almost every single good knife out there is general purpose, not all purpose. Sharpness is determined by the thinness of the steel. Sharpness is literally how microscopically thin your edge is. And a lot of that comes down to edge geometry as well. So the edge geometry of a knife and how thick it is behind the spine over here and behind the edge over here, as well as its shinogi line, which is basically where the secondary grind starts, or the primary grind, depending on who you're talking to. It's really confusing. Everyone has like slightly different definitions of what consists of a primary bevel versus a secondary bevel, depending on if you learned first with a Japanese style or a Western style of knife. We're going to call this a secondary bevel. So the shinogi line is very low down here. It's basically just where the cladding ends, and it was just ground down. And this is a knife that is designed for good cutting. That means do not smash it on bone. Do not smash it on ice. Don't do this with this knife. It is a beautiful cutting knife. Knives have something called kiriyaji, or the flavor of the cut. Every single knife has a different flavor of the cut. When you cut with a knife, you will feel it cuts differently. It can be the same steel. It can even be a very similar design. It can be a Gyoto, it can be a Nakiri, it can be a Western German design, a French design. But every single knife, the way it's balanced, the way it's ground, will feel different when you cut with it. And this one, like all the other knives that we design, are designed to have a beautiful kiriyaji. So when you cut, it just feels really nice. It glides through food. When you're cutting things that are common, like onions and tomatoes and bell peppers and vegetables, or yes, you can debone a chicken with this. I actually have the video for that coming up. Just don't smash it through bone. If you're using this to like hit through the chicken bone, that will not work. But yeah, you can cut around the bone easily with this and debone it like that. This, oh man, where was I going with this? Is the knife full tang? It does not matter. So, wow, I'm just gonna go all over the place answering questions. So, Full tang is a myth. This knife is not full tang because if it were full tang, it would cost significantly, if this knife were full tang, it would cost significantly more for zero benefit to you. That would mean we need this much more steel for nothing. Why I say for nothing is because the reason why people wanted full tang in the past and why full tang was considered good in the past is because knife steel was really garbage back then. It was very easy to have knives that would break from bad heat treatments, from steels that were just very subpar, and otherwise just not having a good understanding of metallurgy and knife steel construction. Now we can build steels literally atom by atom. Steels like Magna Cut and Apex Ultra and things like that are built from the ground up, atom by atom. Exactly the right composition, powder steels, compressed and made into perfect steel. Something like VG10, which is what we use over here, is also, it's not as over the top, which is why it's a very good bang for buck kind of steel, but it is not, but it is way, 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 way leagues above the kind of steel that was used in the past. Even these cheap knives that I have here are going to be leagues above the kind of steel that was used in the past when you were worried about something like full tang. Full tang, especially nowadays, the only way you would break this knife and this part would snap where the tang, basically where it meets the knife, or would snap over here, is if somehow you're applying pressure to the handle here. Let's think about that for a little bit. Why would we apply so much pressure over here and so much pressure that we are snapping steel? What are you doing if you're snapping steel over here? Nothing that this knife should be doing, I'll tell you that. Like I said, we just, and so full tang, when we talk about, and so when we talk about tangs and when we talk about full tang, there's this prevalent myth about it because generations past have advertised it, and it's because it's a staple of old knife making and these really outdated knife designs and knife styles. So, let's actually talk about these, right? So this one is more of a French style, 8-inch one. You can see how incredibly thick it is. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but you can see how incredibly thick this is, and it is extremely, extremely heavy. I'll have to weigh it later. I forgot to bring a scale, but this is probably twice the weight of this knife. That makes it harder to control, and some people like heavier knives because it will cut through things easier, but it will fatigue your hand more. It's not actually cutting through things easier either, it's just the amount of gravity force that is going in. You would need the same amount of force regardless. And the thing about these kind of drop forged blades is that they do have these large bolsters here, which is integral to how you would create a tang. Now, doing a tang like this is really, really wasteful in a lot of ways. The better style nowadays is called an integral bolster, which is something that we feature on the Shadowbringer knife. But how a lot of these old style ones were done is that they forge something this incredibly thick, and then they just grind all of that out. It's so wasteful, and why they don't want to put anything too hard on that, because if you make this too hard, then machinability becomes an issue. The way that you can actually grind this down and shape it becomes a huge issue. The softer the steel, the easier it grinds, the more machinable it is, and therefore the cheaper it is to make. If you want a full tang and a large bolster like this, then either you do the new method, which is an integral bolster, or you do a drop forged one like this, which is very common and a point of pride in a lot of the German steels and the German and French knives like this. But at the end of the day, the reason they are made like this is to defend against bad steel. Which I say, why not just pick a good steel to begin with? I know, crazy concept, right? If you have a good steel, and you are expecting people to use the knife correctly, or even close to correctly, where you're not smashing the handle on something for some reason, then you don't need to design for a full tang. It's a bunch of waste, a bunch of weight, and a bunch of additional costs for absolutely zero reason. Now, and I've seen some people want to argue this point and die on that hill, which, okay, let's talk about that. This is a Mizu Hanyaki. This is the most expensive knife I own. This knife is one of those kind of knives that are so rare and so prized that even if you have the money to buy a knife like this and you do not have the skill to use this knife, they will not sell it to you. Luckily, because I used to be I used to cook at Michelin star restaurants, they did let me buy this, which, man, this was, what, 120,000 yen? So at old exchange rate, that would be $1,200. Luckily, at new exchange rates, we're looking at more like 900. But this, this is a Japanese gyoto. This is incredibly thin behind the edge, down to 0.001 millimeters, which is half of this. Why do they not let just anyone buy this knife? It's because this has an incredibly nice cut. However, the edge is so thin behind it, it's very easy to damage for someone who does not have good edge alignment, for someone who does not have good knife technique, and someone who might not be taking care of it right. It also rusts very, very easily and takes on a patina very easily as well. That is to say, the metal will discolor. And while it is a beautiful knife and it is made extremely well, has extremely high hardness, it is something you have to take care of a lot. And this beautiful knife that is worth so much does not have a full tang. Why? Because it's not necessary. Because the edge will break much, much earlier than the neck will. And any good knife will also be in that category. Because once again, a good knife has a thin edge. A thin edge is what makes a knife sharp, is what makes a knife feel good when you're cutting with it. And yeah, this one's a joy to cut with, and I really love this one. But this knife, once again, very, very expensive. I'm going to nerd out a little bit. I know I'm supposed to be talking about that one, but this is a Mizu Hanyaki, which means that it is water quenched, which means that a lot of them crack and a lot of them break. So to get a good one like this, it's something like 1 in 5 will actually survive the process. And this is basically made out of a single piece of steel that is made in, if you want to go full marketing terms, this is the kind of thing that was made by the old techniques that samurai did. Sakai Ichimonji Mitsuhide, which is the company who sold me this knife, told me that for this kind of style and this technique, there's maybe 5 to 10 people in the world right now who can make knives with this specific technique. And doesn't have a full tang, because it's not needed. I will go back to this to use this as an example compared to the Kikukiri as well later on, but just to answer that question real quick. That is why a full tang is not required or really wanted, because if you want to pay a significantly higher cost for no good reason, yeah, we could include a full tank technically, but it's not worth it and not really valuable to anyone or anything. Similarly, I do actually want to talk about bolsters. An integrated bolster would allow it to have a smoother, point over here in which it would smooth down, and then for someone who likes the pinch grip on the handle itself, which like, it's fine, I guess. Pinch grip on the actual blade though, instead of the handle. I'll talk about pinch grip a little bit later as well. The integrated bolster would be better. However, the reason why we actually don't have an integrated bolster with that kind of slope on this knife is specifically because if we did, it would actually be very weak and cause potential problems. The reason for that is an integrated bolster, like I said before, for these kind of knives, these bolsters, the drop forged ones, are ground down from this single thick piece of steel. However, an integrated bolster is one that is welded on instead, which is great because then you don't have to waste so much steel just grinding it down and just wasting all of the steel. Now, the thing is, if you're trying to weld, welds need to have the same kind of material to weld well. And because this is a Damascus made with also copper, if we were to try and get a weld for the integrated bolster onto this blade, the copper would not weld. And so we would have a pretty spotty weld and a lot of holes, and the heat at which welding needs to happen is not good for copper, and it would just end up causing a lot of problems for that. Even thinning down on this part over here can get a little bit problematic. We will see what we can potentially do about that, but overall, the big reason why we don't have a sloped bolster or an integrated bolster here is because chemistry and science unfortunately restricts us from doing this. So if we, technically speaking, I guess we can try to research and do like a bolster that is made completely out of the copper Damascus, but then that gets into this whole other realm of research and development, and once again, that would significantly increase costs. And so in order to make this knife relatively affordable for what it is, we had to make decisions on what would be cost effective and what would not be cost effective on this. One of the interesting things about, speaking of cost effectiveness, on this handle and this blade is that this knife actually has a slightly incorrect pattern. This particular one, it should actually be the teal over here. The finalized version is going to have a cut over here in order to make this a triangle shape that is more indicative of the sword and the edge that Kiara has on her sword. The reason why they didn't make it onto this variation is we needed it for the shoot on time, and there were some piecing issues that we were working on for the other version. So ideally, by the time this is shipping, and by the time that this is actually completely done and produced, this won't just be a stripe down here. It'll actually have a triangle cut over here, and so it'll look like the sword is in the handle as well as it looks like the blade of Kiara's sword is actually in the handle. So that's kind of the idea behind this as well, and hopefully something that we can do. All right, let me check chat real quick because I realized I was just yapping for a while. Flashback to my mother using mallet to bang on the back of her knife split for sure. Yeah. What's the angle of the edge you've made this as? So we do a 15 degree on each side, double bevel 50-50, so 30 degrees inclusive. That's going to be just a pretty good balance between sharpenability, edge retention. 12 to 15, technically speaking, because there is variance. Or I guess like 13 to 15, but about 15 degrees on each side. There are other ones like getting thinner. Once again, we want this to be a little bit more general purpose, and the sacrifice and the trade-offs you always have to make is how good of an edge do you want this to have, and how well do you want it to work versus how accessible do you want the knife to be. For instance, if we're talking about this one, if we're talking about the Mizu Hanyaki here, then this knife, like I said before, is a beautiful knife. This cuts better than any other knife I have. It is not very accessible. It is not very user-friendly. You have to be careful with it. So while we could technically go lower and it would cut better, it would also be damaged significantly easier. And because we are, and because these are going to, everyone and not just like trained chefs, we went with 15 degrees instead of something lower like 12 or 10 degrees each side. So,
I would just assume the joinery and the handle is very well done.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's glued. It's epoxy. You don't need. So here's the thing, right? Yes, you can. So actually, there's like a little hook in here as well. So it does like it does a thing where you like hook it in, and then the cavity is filled with epoxy. It's not going anywhere. Well, no, it's a resin. I say epoxy as a thing for resin. It's not actually exactly epoxy resin. It's a resin. It's okay, whatever. I'm getting too technical about that. But yeah, you don't need because I think one of the myths, once again, and I think this is one of those things that there is a certain amount of craftsmanship you want to be putting into some parts of the knife. For instance, for this knife, the craftsmanship we really, really want to do is in the blade, right? This is the functional part of the knife. It is also the largest part of the knife that contains the prettiest part of the knife and everything like that. So we put most of the cost into the blade and a lot of the cost into the handle as well. You can see the shape. Every single handle is made by hand. These knives are all sharpened, polished, and checked by hand. There's no big machine assembly line by this. All of these knives are mostly handmade. Every single one. The shape itself is stamped, not forged, stamped. Because we talked about the forging process. You can't actually forge. This in this style very easily without incurring huge amounts of cost. When we're talking about what costs go into a knife, it's going to be about the utilitarianism, and the practicality of functions of it, and then also the craftsmanship of it. When you're paying for a knife, and the cost that goes behind a knife, it is going to be, for instance, this Mizu Hanyaki, right? I talked about it. If the exchange rates were what it was like 10 years ago, this would be $1,200. Does this knife cut 4 times better than this? 5 times better than this? Absolutely not. What I pay for, oh, also this one's also epoxied in, by the way. If you're wondering and you're just like, oh, well, that seems like the joinery and all that kind of stuff seems like, it's not as craftsman, that's all like a weird myth that has been kind of prevalent. Like this very expensive, very, very, very good blade has also, it's not just stuck in with the wood. You can burn it in, and I'm sure it was actually burned in as well. And then to keep it in and make sure it's completely sealed, and you're not going to have any water going into anything. It is sealed with resin. Even this $1,200 knife. And a lot of those kind of old myths and everything like that are there to kind of make certain old techniques that are being used sound greater than they are, to be able to continue the justification use of that. And that is where this knife, we're not paying for something like this. We're not paying because its utility is so high. A knife as expensive and special as this one is being paid for the craftsmanship that goes into it and the special skill to make a knife like this. When creating a custom knife like the Kikirikiri, we balanced utilitarianism with the craftsmanship and understand where do we want to put the most amount of cost? Where is the most effective way to create this knife in a way that is cost effective and still allows us to achieve everything that we want? For those of you who were here before about my whole talking about autism and building things from the ground up, that is one of the things on why we were able to build this knife as is. This knife originally, if you were to look at copper Damascus knives a very, very long time ago, once again, I don't have one. This is my first copper Damascus knife as well. They're rare because copper Damascus is significantly harder to do. Unsurprisingly, when you add a completely different material than steel, even like regular Damascus is well known for its beauty because you're using two different kinds of steels, which then introduce different and new complexities in how do you make it. And yes, for anyone who's like, this is not Damascus, literally everyone in the industry says this is Damascus. Damascus is the industry term for how pattern welded steels are done. Woots, different sort of thing. Knife Steel Nerds on YouTube has a fantastic video about it in which he interviews all kinds of master bladesmiths all over the world and talks about the history and all that kind of stuff if you are interested in it. Meanwhile, yes, it is Damascus. I always need to say that because there's always going to be someone in the comments or someone talking about, oh, no, this isn't Damascus. Yes, it is Damascus. That's just what the term is. There's nothing technical about it. That's just what the word means. Anyway, this kind of copper Damascus is significantly harder to work with. And some of the problems with old copper Damascus is that it would patina very easily, right? If you're using pure copper in a knife like this, and then you put it with steel and all that kind of stuff, number one, you can have some bonding issues where the copper and the steel is not bonding very well because they are different chemicals. And you can also have some problems where it's just not, and then you know, if your knife isn't bonding, then it literally will fall apart as you're using it. That's not good. And then the other part of copper Damascus that used to make it very annoying to work with is pure copper patinas, and it gets, you know, it doesn't keep its orange color very easily, and it will turn green. Statue of Liberty used to be a nice orange color as well. It's now green. Same concept. This does not use pure copper. This uses a copper alloy. It is not pure, which means that it is much, 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 much more stain resistant, and it does still oxidize slowly over time. But luckily, what you can do with this one is if you just get a little bit of lemon juice or strong vinegar and you rub that on there, then it will get rid of any kind of patina, any kind of oxidation, and return the color. That does happen over a very long period of time. I think if you just use this knife a lot, because food is generally acidic, it will also just kind of clean itself in a way. And no, none of that is toxic or anything like that. Don't worry about that. It is an alloy that is very non-toxic. We actually even had it tested. We actually do have like a European Union test on the material itself, just to make double sure. And this is a man, because copper Damascus knives are like so incredibly rare. Like I said, this is my first one, so I'm really glad I was able to make it because now I get a copper Damascus knife. It is for prettiness, right? We want to make this because Kiara's theme is obviously orange and phoenix, and so I was like, let's do a feather pattern knife. I've seen feather pattern Damascus knives on some other builds before, but I've never seen one done with Damascus, or with copper Damascus. I saw this really, really beautiful custom one that used a pretty standard like 1095 and 15N20 high nickel steel blend, and that was really, really beautiful. And I was thinking like, well, if we can make this look like a feather, and make it also seem like it's on fire with the copper Damascus, then this would work perfectly for Kiara, for Kiara's knife. And when we were thinking about that, it was also like, oh man, if we do that, it's going to be so incredibly expensive. Are we going to actually be able to get this within a price range that is actually worth anything, or like where people are actually able to buy it? Because like if we made this and then we went, oh shit, well, you know, for all the handwork and all the difficulty and all the rejects that have to happen, we have to price this at like $800, $1,000. How many people are actually going to be able to buy this? Not many. I understand that right now at $280, it's not the most affordable knife in the world either, but what we were able to do through the decisions behind, for instance, things like don't make it full tang, right? Use a stamp process, and the way that this is shaped means that it is a stamp process in one go. How these lines were created has to be accounted for in terms of how it's going to be stamped and where this goes as well in order to make this very cost efficient and cost effective in how we build it. The more of a length you have over here, the more steel ends up wasted in the stamp process. And in the end, when we're designing this knife, we have to think about every single trade-off that we have to do in order to make it as functional, as pretty, as close to what we want as we can, while keeping it in the range of affordability. I think one of the biggest problems, and also, by the way, another reason why this knife can actually be under $300 and is not like $800 or $1,000 is free Chinese labor. That's me. I'm the free Chinese labor. I don't pay myself anything when I'm designing these knives. I don't add anything extra. I don't do anything that I don't pay myself and go, oh, you know, I need a designer fee. I need to do whatever. Literally every single cent that goes into developing this knife is going to be into the materials, into the shipping, logistics, and the core basis of prototyping and producing this knife. The other people that need to be paid. I actually do not pay myself anything to design this knife. I don't do any and all time I do in prototyping, in drawing, in anything, does not go into this knife. Because I want this to be a price that is somewhat affordable to people. Once again, I understand it is not the cheapest knife in the world, but it is a knife that I really, really love to make. It's something that I really put a ton of effort into and work, and I don't want to go, I'm going to charge every single hour I spend on this. Do you know how much a knife designer costs, by the way? For a knife designer that is doing something like this, you have custom ones, but if you go for a knife designer who is going to be creating something like this, I think right now, I think going price is something like $250 an hour. I cannot tell you how much time I have spent on this. I have spent a ridiculous amount of time designing this, working out the prototypes, working out the supply chain, thinking about how we're going to produce it, how we're going to send it, what we can do. For instance, doing that extra cut over here that I want over there, that is going to cost us extra. That is going to actually cost us a lot of extra. I think that's gonna increase the handle cost by 50%. Could I get away with just doing this? Absolutely. I'm going to do this anyway and not charge anything extra for the knife because I want the knife to be as good as it can be within the means that we have. I don't want to go that part should not exist because it's just going to cost too much because we won't make as much of a profit margin or whatever. I want this knife to be everything that I'd hoped it was. And it is so close to being there that if we were to just go, oh yeah, no, we're just gonna do this, and the knife maker even is begging me, can we just keep this? Can we not do this? This is so much easier to make. We're gonna have so much less waste. And I'm like, no. I want this to have that shape. I want this to look like Kiara's sword as much as possible. I want this knife to be as beautiful, as functional, as good as we can make it. Because every single knife I make, every single thing that we create, I don't want it to be something that we're like weighing out the costs and benefits so much that we're just constantly cutting things and constantly having to say, let's maximize our profits as much as possible. Let's churn out a subpar product. You know, they'll buy it anyway. This knife is the price that it is. Because as much as it is more expensive, as much as it is going to be one of the most expensive knives in most people's collections, it is a knife that I want to last for generations. That this is something that you will take out proudly, and you'll be able to remember all the times that you've had, the feelings that you've had when you watch Kiara, when you watch her stream, when you watch her cook, the Froggy Wawa and Casper and everything that she does. And I want this to last generations, where it's passed down. One day, maybe you're a grandparent and your grandkid is starting college for the first time and they don't have a knife to call their own. And VTubers have taken over the world. And you can tell them about the time where Yoroshi decided to make a knife with this crazy ramen company who makes knives for some reason. And all the stories that you have in the future of that, and then pass this down to them. Maybe by that time it's less shaped like this and has cut down to here because you've used it so much and sharpened to it where it's 6 inches instead of 8 inches, and you tell stories about it. But I don't want to make knives that are forgettable. I don't want to make things that are disposable and are forgotten after a month, 2 months. I know things like this cost more. But it's because I want to be able to put the quality into it that it deserves. I want to be able to put the materials, the craftsmanship, that this is made by hand, that we are able to have all the little design elements that we hope to include, that we are still able to give you a knife that should cost close to $1,000 for 30% of that. And maybe others can do this too. And I hope they do. Maybe someone can do this better than I can. I don't want to actually be the only person who does something like this. I really hope that by doing these kind of things, by making knives like these, by making items like these where we do tell a story, that we are putting our all into everything, where we are able to create something that is able to last and is utilitarian and functional, and you can use it and smile at it and remember good memories all the time. I hope other people do too. If someone else wants to make knives like this, I would be so happy to see more knives, to be able to use other people's knives. But the thing I don't want to do is to make a shitty knife and to just, I don't know, grab one of these and then just throw a logo on it. And to use subpar steel and sell it to you like it's the best steel in the world. And to lie to you about what it is and what it isn't. And I hope that right now, what I've been talking about, telling you exactly what goes into this build, what parts of it we have sacrificed, and why we've sacrificed certain parts of it versus other parts of it, does let you know all the consideration that we have been putting into it. And shows you that this is something that is truly custom. This is something that we truly have built from the ground up with Kiara, with the fans, with everyone who loves both kitchen knives and who loves Kiara in mind. And why the cost is where it is. My God, how long have I been rambling? I haven't looked at chat in a while. Oh my God, I have so much more I want to be talking about. Okay, sorry. One sec. Okay, let me look through all this. Is the KFP knife sharpened in Japanese style or European? There's not a difference, really. You're grinding down steel. If you get it at the edge, if you get the edge at 50-50, that's fine. You can bring it to 12,000 grit if you want. You can bring it to 1,000 grit. You can bring it to even 300 if you want a really toothy edge. It'll all work. There's no real particular like specific style of sharpening. European versus I don't think there really is a European versus Japanese style. Like everyone just uses whetstones, sets the angle and grinds it down. So if you want to elaborate on what you mean by that, I can definitely answer it more. But otherwise, yeah, just 15 degrees, both sides, you're good to go. If it cuts, it cuts. And then get rid of the burr, get rid of the wire head, you're good to go. Damascus pattern in that shape would have to be stamps 2 consistent B4s, so that makes sense. Yeah. There are some people who are very consistent with forging. I know, which a little bit of tangent I've gone on before. There are knives that come out of Pakistan that and that general area, which was the original home of Damascus. Damascus is an actual place. There are still knives coming out of Damascus. Those guys are actually forging it, and they make beautifully consistent patterns every single time. And they're selling it for like $10 on eBay. It's interesting because a lot of people will look down at that and go, this is cheap steel, it's terrible. Yeah, it's not the best steel in the world. It won't retain its edge very well. But the kind of craftsmanship and artistry that they do put into that, the skill of their smiths to be able to produce that many knives that quickly and that cheaply, okay, the working conditions probably aren't the best, but that's going to be on the business side of things. But if we're talking purely about the artistry, the craftsmanship, the absolute skill of the people involved, that's a different story. Those guys, very skilled. Okay. Let's see. Where? Oh my God, there's so much. Holy crap! How far am I behind? Let me ask Mr. Onion. Are you talking about Ken Onion? Ken Onion is a famous knife designer. He's great. I have a bunch of his knives. Knife designer must be a pretty interesting job. I'm gonna be real honest. I'm not sure what knife designers have been doing. Like a lot of them, I feel like a lot of them have just like kind of burnt out. I've not seen a lot of changes in knives. I think it's less that the knife designers are burning out, and more so that anyone who's a really good knife designer and who wants to make special designs has gone private, forges their own stuff. A lot of companies are just like kind of very profit motive focused in the way that they're just not releasing anything like really new. Their old knives are selling, so why design new ones? Looking at you, German knife makers, which still coming out with this stuff. Big black handle, thick, chunky knife that doesn't cut well. Like, and I know some people have talked about this handle and been like, I don't like the color and I don't like the color and stuff like that, which I get, yeah. But it's okay to like color. It's okay to like pretty things. You don't need a thick black handle to wrap your hand around all the time, you know? Like, try other ones. They're nice. A thinner one can actually help your grip. Doesn't tire your hand out.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. I completely lost where I was. Would SG2 fall into more of the over-the-top steel?
I want to use SG2, man. I do want to use SG2. The thing is, I looked into it. Like, if we use SG2 on this, I think this would. I think we would hit close to the $500 range. SG2 is expensive. SG2 specifically is because I think even now, if you look up VG10, right? If you try to get a bar of VG10 in the United States, you can't get one. Like, if you want to make your own custom VG10 knife, you can't get it. SG2 is even rarer. The price is so high right now. Like, even weirdly enough, AUS-10 is a worse steel than VG10. And for some reason, AUS-10 is more expensive than VG10 right now. The reason being that AUS-10 was originally used, that the supply of AUS-10 is primarily going to a lot of like larger knife makers who are making cheaper, not as good knives. And then because they're chewing up all the supply, any private demand that goes for AUS-10 becomes more expensive. And so weirdly enough, the worst steel is now more expensive, AUS-10. This is super knife nerdy stuff, guys. Oh yeah, I guess, good time. Let me talk about knife steel. We talked a lot about the copper Damascus and how it comes together. So the copper Damascus is used with a pattern, but it is also, you will see that each and every single one will be different. There's handwork involved and there is machine work involved. Now the VG10 we chose VG10 for the blade because VG10 is one of the best steels, bang for buck, that you can get. So when you have a knife, you have a couple different things that you can do with the steel. A steel for something like this is designed for machinability. It's not as hard, but it is tough. The difference between hardness and toughness is the difference between glass, which is very, very hard and can cut for a very, very long time, but is very brittle and can break very easily. A hard but not tough thing is brittle. A tough but not hard thing is something like, would be, I would actually say this piece of paper is very tough because I can punch it all day. It's not going to break on me, right? It's not going to shatter. So it's very tough, but it's not hard. And so it's about the impact that it can take before it shatters or breaks. That is toughness. Now, these knives are also made these kind of old style knives are made this way because they expect people to do this. Don't do that with your knives. Do not do that with your knives. I'll do I know some of you are waiting for the no hammer grippy. I'll do that later. Don't worry about it. But the reason why they make them so thick and big, why they make these thick, big black handles and these super thick spines and really, really like large edges is they expect people to abuse the knives. They expect people to be slamming it and scraping it and twisting it and doing all kinds of abuse to the knife. That's kind of their demographic and what they want to sell to, and that's why they try to price them as cheap as possible and therefore are not the best quality knives. They are, however, very tough. They use knives that are, or they do use steels that are going to be significantly more tough. I don't know why I brought so many of these. I'm going to be perfectly honest. They use steel that's significantly more tough so that they can take more impact before they break, because they are fully expecting people to abuse them. The thing is, it will still chip a lot when people are like scraping it and all that kind of stuff. So you end up with a dull edge and bad knives anyway. Something like this uses a steel called X50 CRMOV 15. This is a very cheap steel. It does not hold an edge very long. It is not hard. It is low vanadium, and it is made for toughness and the cheapness of machinability. Our VG10 steel that we chose, on the other hand, is originally a Japanese steel made by Takefu, and it is a high hardness steel with a lot of vanadium, which is a compound that helps knife retain which helps it retain edge. Which helps the knife keep its edge. So VG10 will just not lose its edge significantly. VG10 will keep its edge significantly longer than this kind of knife. X50 CRMOV, even if we were to bring this to the exact same hardness, exact same everything, this would lose its edge significantly faster. VG10 is just built with better materials and better with better materials and better basically everything. However, the one thing that it does lack compared to that steel is going to be the toughness involved. Is that a terrible thing? No, because once again, do not bash this knife. Take care of it. Cut normally with it. Don't twist it. Don't scrape with it. Cut. Cut. .440A and C. 440A, yeah, 440A and C are pretty cheap as well. I would say actually, so here's the thing. 440C is not bad when heat treated well. 440C, when heat treated well, will actually beat out 8CR15 MOV. 440C is almost entirely dependent on the heat treat, on how good it is. A well heat treated 440, like 440C, 440C is pretty equivalent to OS 10. If that gives you kind of like a point of reference. So, okay, and then let's talk about the blade design. This blade design is as you can see, is German in nature. However, there are subtleties to this knife design and the blade shape. Now, I'm also going to compare it to the Gyoto. So once again, the most expensive knife I own. You'll see that compared to the Japanese Gyoto, this has a broader, flatter blade, and the edge is significantly more curved. So you'll see on this knife over here, this is fairly straight along the back end, and it curves slightly up to over here. This allows you to do some amount of rock chopping, but not as much. On the other hand, German knives, which are one of the most popular types of knives in the world, are going to have a much higher sweep. So you can see at this angle here, there's a much larger belly, which means that you are able to do this rock chopping motion significantly easier. And this is primarily what these knives are good for. The Gyoto is a Japanese knife that is made in the style of a Western knife. So it does have this curve to it that allows for a little bit of rock chopping and a flatter edge at the back, which allows for the push cutting. Now, most Japanese knives will have much flatter edge for push cutting. This one is designed in the middle as well. This one has sort of a Gyoto design, where we have the belly over here, a larger one than the Gyoto, where we have the belly over here, a much larger one than this Gyoto, and that's why we have the wider, flatter blade. But also, we end that belly around the middle here to preserve the flatter cutting surface in the back here. That allows us to do the push cut, so that when you're cutting like this, you can use the back of the blade still like a Japanese knife with the Japanese motion. There's still a slight curve to it, so it's not completely flat. It's not completely flat, so that there is still more of the European German style of rock in it. And once again, here's a French style knife for reference. You'll see the French style knife is thinner. It's thinner and doesn't have as wide of a blade. And it's also built for the rock chopping. So so this is going to be more of a hybrid between the German European style blade and a Japanese style blade as well, which I think is pretty fitting for someone like Kiara, right? And so this is a highly versatile blade for anyone who does like to do any kind of rock chopping, and also those who like to do push cutting as well. This knife is also, the parts over here also are designed specifically, and I measured this out. I have large hands, right? My hands are going to be in the top like 5% of hand sizes, mostly. There are people with larger hands than me, but I generally have pretty large hands. But even if I want to hold it back with a 4-finger grip, we did design it so that this does not reach there. You can see I did actually measure where this is, so that you can still do a 4-finger grip if you want. The 4-finger grip is something that sometimes Western chefs will turn their nose up at, but this is actually very common in a lot of Asian culture cutting. So I know a lot of Korean chefs that do this, and a lot of Japanese chefs that use a 4-finger grip as well. Now, the 4-finger grip primarily is used for something like push cut and not a rock cut, and also for pull cuts or draw cuts, like this, where you slice. This gives you more of the blade to use and a better slice. You'll also see we have a very important and very special round over here. What this does is this is a choil or finger groove that is not present in a lot of these kind of knives. You'll see that this Gyoto sort of has it a little bit, but not that much. Some Gyotos and some other Japanese knives have a little bit more of that. But one of my biggest frustrations, one of the things I absolutely hate and despise about these kind of German and French knives with this big heel here and the butt of the knife here is this does not cut. This part of the knife does not cut and just gets in the way. You have this big chunk of steel that's doing nothing over here, and once you start to try and sharpen this knife, this is impossible. You will not be able to sharpen it over here, and you'll get this weird blade shape and all that kind of stuff as you sharpen. This is stupid. And this is a function of that stupid tang idea and the concept of of building this thick, useless handle there. The reason why? Why? And so when we design this knife, one of the things I also know that is very common, and you'll see this in pretty much all of my knife designs, not everything, but most, will create a choil that goes into the blade and cuts out over here. What this does is that when you're holding the blade and when you're using it and you're doing any kind of cut, a lot of the times, especially if you have a stupid forward swoop like this, you'll cut, and then because of where your fingers are positioned, you think you have more blade over here, but you actually don't. And then you get what I call hanging cuts, where you don't cut through something all the way, and then it's just hanging there, and then it's just really annoying, because then you have to go back and go between all those cuts and recut it again. And it's the most annoying thing in the world. And you could just, all you have to do is design the blade a little differently, not have a stupid bolster right there that's blocking everything, and just have something that comes either flat or back a little bit. If you have it flat, at least you know where it is. And if you have it back a little bit, like this, now that's going to make it so that when you're rock chopping, when you're push cutting, it will cut through the back because it's where your finger is. And let's talk about grip, because it's also important where your fingers are to understand where your grip is. These knives, The reason why they're also designed like this is they're designed for people who don't use the knife right. We should not be designing knives for the lowest common denominator. Just learn a little bit about the knife before you use it. This here, the reason why it's back is so people can hold it like this, like a hammer. Do not hold your knives like this. This is called a hammer grip. We do not use the hammer grip. This is unwieldy, it has no control, and it is just bad overall. You won't be able to cut, you'll hit your knuckles on the cutting board. No hammer grippy! Do not do this! No hammer grippy! You can't cut well like this. You have no control over the knife. You're holding it like a hammer, like you're like trying to swing this, and this is actually one of the reasons why people will break knives, why people will not like cutting with knives, why people will go, oh, like I don't like cooking because this doesn't feel good. When you use a good knife, you get addicted to the feeling of a good cut. When you cut a tomato and it just glides right through, holy shit, that feels fucking amazing. That's what we call kiriyashi, the flavor of the cut. And when you get to experience such a good flavor of the cut, when everything goes through, you just start to cut and you go, oh my God, do I have anything else to cut? Does anyone need more pico de gallo made? And then like everyone gets mad at you because like you keep like cutting things and then like you don't actually think about what you're actually gonna be using that for, and then they're gonna be like, all right, dude, you already made like a stash of onions. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do with like that pile of onions? And you're like, I don't know, man. I just want to cut more things. Ask me how I know that. Actually, don't. I didn't figure out what to do with all those potatoes and onions in the fridge, honestly. I keep testing knives. Anyway, yeah, and then this knife, and that is why we make this. Fuck! I bit my tongue. Ow! I keep biting my tongue. Okay, and that is why we designed this with the swoop back here, and why the blade shape is as it is. A proper knife grip. That is not the hammer grip. Do not do this! This is why your cuts suck. This is why knives feel bad. Do it right. This knife, and if you do a hammer grip, you'll notice it is not the most comfortable knife grip in the world. It's not super ergonomic. This part over here is actually rather large, even for a large hand like mine. And you'll be like, and the handle's also kind of thin to make it, to wrap it. And then if anyone wraps their hand around this and then goes, man, this handle ain't so ergonomic for using it like a hammer, then I'll be like, why the fuck are you using it like a fucking hammer? You're telling on yourself. Instead, we use it the right way. This is called a pinch grip. This is what Michelin star chefs use, what you're taught in culinary school, and generally speaking, the proper knife grip. What you do is you pinch on the blade, not near the handle. Your fingers do not touch the handle. These, the index finger and the thumb, go onto the blade. They don't really touch the handle. That's also why this shouldn't be a big deal. Because you shouldn't be pinching back here, you should be pinching on the blade itself. That's what gives you the most control. And then, simply, rest of your fingers, wrap around. What you can do also is you can actually put your finger here first. Oh shit, I'm flipping off the camera. Whoops, sorry guys. You put your middle finger here first with the choil, and then you'll see why this has a larger curve here. It's to support your pinky finger and your ring finger, which are smaller than your middle finger, and align them in generally the same position, which gives you more control over the blade as well. And then pinch on the blade like this, and that is a pinch grip. And now you'll see this is why chefs have so much control, because this feels like a natural extension of your hand. Immediately by using the pinch, oh my God, I keep biting my tongue. Immediately by using the pinch grip, you will see you have significantly more control. The knife feels a lot more like an extension of your hand. Also use the claw grip when you're handling ingredients and you won't cut yourself. You know, this blade up against the knuckle here. I can't teach that super easily here, we'll talk, and that's how chefs are able to cut without looking. Because pinch grip plus claw grip, it goes up against your knuckles, the flat of your knuckles here, and you can cut without looking. Because everything just feels natural as an extension of your hand. Just that simple. The other grip that is okay, forefinger grip. And I did go over this a little before, but this one is where you want your forefinger over here. And the thing with pinch grip is that because your fingers are on the blade here, if you're trying to use the back of the knife in something like this, right, in a horizontal cut where you're parallel, and you have big hands like mine, you might hit the cutting board. Or you're trying to cut something and you want to have the full use of your knife, and your fingers, if I cut like this, would get in the way. If you do that, and you want to be able to use the full length of your blade, in those two scenarios, you can use a forefinger grip. That puts your fingers out of the way. So you have this. Your pinky, basically, you choke back on the handle as much as possible, wrap around, and put your forefinger over here. Now, you see, it's much easier for me to do any kind of slice because my knuckles are not as in the way. And now I can do a draw cut easier as well, and I can do a slice. This is usually for long slicing motions, whereas this, pinch grip, rock chopping, push cutting, and things like that. And then obviously, I went over this a little bit before as well, but you can also rock chop like this. Yeah, I will say this blade shape is not the best for that style of chopping. You would want a bigger belly for that, but you know, trade-offs, right? Every blade shape has its trade-offs. And that's how you would use this blade properly and be able to feel the maximum nice stuff, the maximum curiosity, and how nice this knife feels. All right, no hammer. Maybe I'll make one, yeah. Your rage tells me that you're just flipping off the hammer curve first? Yeah, absolutely. Knife design. Also, kikiri, right? This knife is called the kikiri, and it's a pun. Because kikuriki, Kiara's, obviously, kikiriki is going to be Kiara's oh my God. My tongue is a little swollen because I've bitten it so many times. So I'm increasingly losing my ability to talk. It also makes it easier to bite my tongue. But this knife is the kikiri, and it is based off the greeting of Kiara, kikiriki. Kiri means knife. So take the end part off, and you get kikiri, so. But the funniest thing about that, too, is Froggy Wawa actually makes an appearance as well. Because Kiker also is a frog in Germany, or a type of frog in the German area. I don't actually know its range. I just know that Kiker means frog, or a certain kind of frog. So, someone, that was not part of the original design. Someone just pointed that out to me. I was like, oh. Well. The spine of this blade is 2 millimeters, and the spine of this blade is going to be 2 millimeters, and the thickness behind the edge is going to be 0.2 millimeters, which generally speaking is going to be as thin as we want to make it without making it very difficult to use. The thinner you get it, also the higher the cost is. 0.2 millimeters, generally speaking, is just going to be like the best of all worlds. So.
Let's see, grip style familiarity. And then, oh man, I can't show you guys sketches of the knife, but that's fine. Let's see, oh, balance. So for me, so knife balance is one of the very interesting things. Everyone has a different preference on knife balance. Some people prefer a handle heavier. These are stupidly handle heavy, which also makes it very hard to use. Handle heavy can be good for some applications where you want to be chopping through things or otherwise need a heel-centric weight. For a lot of chefs, a very blade-heavy knife will feel better, but is harder to control. So for a more general purpose knife, we kind of want the balance towards the middle, right where you pinch. That's just going to give the most control for the general purpose use. So you can see, I hate doing this because I am bad at balancing, but this is where I pinch the knife. And this is where it balances. So we kept the knife balance right in the middle there to make it easy to use, to make it very, we kept the knife balance right there in order to make it easier to use and to make it, generally speaking, something that is accessible for everyone. Ta-da! And yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say about balance. Balance is definitely a subjective thing. That's going to be something that is a personal preference more than anything. But I think no one really complains that like, there's no, that this is neutral. This is your neutral. It's not good, it's not bad. This is the most acceptable one for everyone. So. Yeah, I compared Gyoto already. Stain resistance. Oh yeah, you don't need to baby this too much. So the VG10 and the Damascus are all pretty stainless. Like I said, the copper alloy, copper alloy would be the only thing that might have a little bit of it'll get duller over time, right? It won't. It'll just not be as shiny. And then just a little lemon juice or vinegar, distilled vinegar or something, shiny again, easy. And I went over the pinch grip. Yeah, the resin color, I talked about that. General purpose versus all purpose. Versus XCR15 Magna, I did talk about that. Vinegar restore shine, edge retention, stainless versus others. Yeah, I did talk about, yeah, VG10, carbon steels. Yeah, and then so I guess I don't really need to talk too much about that. Does anyone have any other questions? I'm just going through my list right now, making sure I covered everything. Blade geometry, why thinner blade, backward swoop, hanging cuts, Sanmai. Oh, yeah, and also, by the way, this blade material, the outer coating, the outer steel that we use is going to be a cheaper steel because it does not need a cutting edge, because it will never be used as the cutting edge. It is actually called Sus 420. So it is a Sus 420 copper Damascus Sanmai. I think technically like Sus 410 it's not really a big difference, but literally Sus 420 is funnier, so Sus 420 it is. That's what we want to use. Oh, and this will come in a magnetic box. It will come in a magnetic box with foam padding. And also, one of the things that we are doing is, if we do get enough sales of this knife, we will actually be able to add a. Oh, we are all marking these as first edition knives. Whether or not we get another run, they will all be marked as first edition knives. So if we do get another, if we do manage to get another wave of knives and that sort of stuff, yours will be special. You'll have the first edition. And then we are also, once we get, I think we are past the point where I'm happy to announce that we are going to be giving microfibers to every single one person who buys the knife. And then also we also have a knife guard. So we have a pretty basic knife guard for this as well. to cover it as well. We are looking into customization at the moment, so you will have a knife guard and a microfiber to clean it with. And then we're also looking into a display stand. Right now, I want, for everyone who buys the package that has both of these, any of the packages that have both of these, I'm trying to get a knife stand. The MOQ, dude, just to get a sample of the knife stand costs $3,000. Every prototype is $3,000. So we are definitely trying to figure that one out right now. We might opt with 3D printing instead. Yeah, we're working on it. We're trying to figure that one out. I do want to create. I do want everyone who buys this knife right now. I do want everyone who does buy this initial first run of the knife to have first edition marks, to have the knife guard for free as well, a microfiber free as well, and then a knife stand. If we are not able to get a display knife stand because of the cost of prototyping and things like that, then what we'll do is we'll at least have the bamboo stands that you can use to dry the knife and dry the cutting board easily on. So one way or the other, we'll include something like that in there to make it easier for everyone to do that. And I'm also looking into mineral oil to come with the cutting board as well, so that you'll be well equipped to keep it in good condition. So little add-ons that we're looking into. I didn't put it in the announcement and stuff because, once again, like we're working on it. I don't want to announce something without being able to commit to it. So you guys get to hear about all that kind of stuff first. Yeah. Is there a recommended whetstone? No, any whetstone will do. I don't think there's a huge difference between whetstones. Like you'll see some sharpening nerds out there who are like, oh yeah, this kind is bad. This kind, it's like, yeah, no, some are a little like you don't get as much quote unquote feedback, and they wear down a little easier, and you got to soak them beforehand or whatever. But if they're cheap and they work, then it's fine. I'd recommend a good diamond stone. It's usually going to be the best like bang for buck. We are producing sharpening stones eventually one day. That's the VKS project, which I'm going to provide an update about next week. It's this whole thing. I have a lot to write. I keep having more and more to write. So, but yeah. So hopefully we're coming out with a whole Caroline about that kind of stuff. There are honing rods as well. So this is the VKS honing rod, and you can use that as well. But we also have a Shadowbringer one. That's with Giri. That's with Onigiri. I don't know if that noise is terrible on the mic or whatever. But generally speaking, any honing rod. Okay. Oh, make sure you have a good honing rod. Actually, one of my hobbies is to buy like cheap and beat down knives and honing rods and restore them as practice. And I have this honing rod, right, that is actually such a low hardness. This knife and the others that we have will cut into the steel. It literally, when you're trying to hone, it will just cut the steel instead. You can shave off steel from that honing rod. It's wild. So if you're going to get a honing rod, do get a high quality one. The cheaper ones might not cut it. Or rather, the cheaper ones will be being cut. Eh? See what I did there? Eh? Oh, man. Thanks for subscribing, Self-Taught Guitar. Save your money on subscribing, honestly. I don't know, let's go buy my stuff instead. Thank you, though. I don't ever know what to do with like I should like actually spruce up. I should like get all the like stuff for like subscribing and following alerts and all that kind of stuff. I do not have any of that set up. I just kind of went, I'm just gonna start streaming. I like got all the like video setup and the lights and all that kind of stuff up, and I just like never really thought about the stream part of things, I guess. I did have that nice stream setup done, but are ceramic honing rods good? Okay, so ceramic honing rods and diamond honing rods are very specific in the way that diamond honing rods and ceramic honing rods are more like whetstones. They will actually take off material from your knife. And while steel, there's actually another really, really cool knife sharpening guy who has an electron microscope to show things. And he shows that even these kind of honing rods will actually take off a slight amount of material. But they will, generally speaking, align and otherwise they will align and otherwise take off burrs and other things. But ceramic ones and diamond ones are just like taking it to the whetstone, which is like, it is nice to be able to just like, you know, do that and then just like keep a nice edge on it. And if you have a ceramic one or a diamond one and you're setting your angles right, and then you also use a strop, you can basically keep an edge forever and never need to actually take it back to the stone. That being said, I really do not recommend ceramic stones and diamond or ceramic, I don't recommend ceramic whetstones either to beginners. They're harder to work with. Ceramic rods and diamond rods I do not recommend for beginners who can't hold their angle correctly, because you can actually just straight up make your knife duller by just removing the edge. So, yeah. Oh man, Sniper Hire, thanks for subbing as well. I do not have a sub message or anything. Like I said, I'm unprepared, so that's all I can say. I should think of something. I don't know. Knife guard. Would you ever make a stainless clad carbon steel knife like Origami Super with stainless clad? Maybe. I don't know. I just don't really see a particular reason for it. It's like maybe for like a slicer, like maybe for something like a Yanagiba or something like that, or a Tsujihiki, something like that. Maybe. That's yeah. I think a big slicer where you really want that super fine edge is where I would probably want to do something like that. But overall, I think maybe not really. How do you end a video, by the way? Because like I'm intending on using this footage and cutting it into a YouTube video. How do I end? Hey guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Something like that. Make sure we don't even have our YouTube video. We don't even optimize for like that kind of stuff on YouTube. We just use it as like a video archive. My personal channel is also very dead. I have a lot of ideas for content, but like I'm spending all my time on this stuff. So YouTube thumbnails, right? Sure, that's enough YouTube faces, right? Everyone say hi to YouTube. Well, I have that filming without the chat, but I probably have the chat as well. If you want to check out any of our other knives, make sure you go to viteramen.com, and we'll have our other knives there, and we might have some B grades available as well. Make sure you subscribe to our email list if you want to keep up with everything that's happening with ramen, nanoboost, knives, and everything else that we're doing with VTubers and VTuber merch. I don't know, right? Something like that? Knife. It's nice to meet you. Okay. If you hammer grip the subscribe button, I will. No, I want you. Don't hammer grip. I want you to hammer grip that subscribe button instead, and make sure you hammer grip the notification bell too. That's the only time you should hammer grip. Or when you're using a hammer, I guess. That works too. Got that one in right. Oh my God. Holy shit, wait, what time is it? Oh, geez. Oh, maybe I should just end the stream. I might need to get going. One sec. It's one of my. Oh. Wait, you guys can hear? What? What? Oh my God, my camera ran out of batteries. Oh my God, how perfect was that, huh? Oh my Lord. Okay, one sec. Ugh. I can make this. I have a spare. You guys can hear me still, right? Yeah. Okay. Whew, maybe I will just leave everything here for now, and then I will pick it up later. I can pop this out and. Oh my God. That's hilarious, man. That is. We back? And cut. You know I like ramen too, right? I find it funny that I'm like known as the knife guy, but I didn't start a knife company first. I started a ramen company first. I think just ramen has less technical. No, it doesn't have less technical details. I just think it's boring. No, I should do that. I should talk more technical details about ramen sometime. I did that the other stream. I should edit that actually. Huh, well, whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end stream now. Thanks to everyone who showed up and came. And yeah, if you want the knife, honestly, I'm gonna give you guys a little secret because, or anyone I guess who watches this VOD all the way up till now. If you are still watching and you want a discount or you already bought the knife, join our Discord server and then just type, and then just, I don't know, at me, or I haven't figured this one out, but like just say you watched the stream and then I'll get you a special discount and or refund a certain amount of your purchase. Ha ha ha, monetary incentives. Watch my stream and you will make money or save money or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. And then, yeah. That'll be about it. Thanks for watching.